Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion, Mark Meets, and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Every Saturday, 10 till 12, we'll bring you all of the news that you need to know. We'll also remind you that there is so much to smile about.
It's my favourite time of the week. I get to relax, enjoy some light-hearted stories, and let Ellie teach me about fashion too.
That's Saturday Morning Live, every Saturday, 10 till 12.
Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. Sir Keir Starmer backs the International Criminal Court after it issues an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu.
That's as the Israeli leader slams the charges from the International Court as anti-Semitic.
Well, Conservatives here and the Americans have condemned the ICC's move as outrageous.
Vladimir Putin issues a chilling threat after UK-supplied weapons are used in Russia as he increases strikes on Ukraine. We'll be asking whether we need to do more to support Ukraine.
Cracking down on antisocial behaviour, the government resurrects ASBOs to enhance police powers.
A clash at the box office as Wicked is released today. Could the musical phenomenon topple Gladiator 2?
Winter weather set to lash the UK as Storm Bert rolls in, bringing strong winds, heavy rain, and for some of us, a lot of snow.
Coming up in the weather forecast, I'll have the latest on Storm Bert, expected to bring disruptive wind, rain, and in some places, snow this weekend.
And in the sport, Lewis Hamilton was the fastest in the first practice for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Pep finally announces his new 2-year contract at Manchester City. And could the World Darts Championship move from Ali Pali?
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
6 o'clock. No, it's 6 o'clock, in case you've just went into a panic thinking you were an hour late for work. 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, yeah. You're wishing the morning away.
I don't know why I said 7 o'clock. There you go.
Wishful thinking, I think.
Isn't that awful? We do lose track of time on this. I'll tell you what it is.
Are you going to blame me for it?
No,
All right, good.
no. I'm totally discombobulated by the world of art.
Oh, yeah?
Why?
It's thrown me into a spin this morning.
Has it?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yes,
I've
some
seen this.
lunatic has bought a work of art called Comedian. And the plonker who's bought it is the founder of a cryptocurrency platform. And do you know what Comedian is?
No.
It is a banana duct-taped, gaffer-taped, to a wall.
That's very interesting. I can see exactly what they're trying to do there.
And as he said, as part of the art experience, he's going to eat the banana.
Oh, so hold on, someone's bought it.
Bought it for.
So who's going
bought it?
He's going to eat the banana
for £5 million. £5 million.
So, but surely, what do they do with the banana? Is it a fresh banana and then the work of art is done? Because surely the banana's going to go
It
off.
doesn't even look fresh. It's actually starting to turn black.
Yeah, no,
I'd
but-
say it has 3 days max.
Yeah, no, but what you do is, the banana, this work of art, you change the banana and you change the gaffer tape.
Right.
Right, but what you do, so what he's actually bought is a certificate which allows him to gaffer tape a banana to a wall and call it Comedian.
Well, Comedian, who's the comedian? Because I know that the artist is the one that's laughing louder than anybody else on the way to the bank.
Who's an Italian guy called Maurizio Catalan.
Right.
He debuted this piece of art in 2019.
With a different banana and a different piece of gaffer tape.
So literally...
I could do that for free at home.
You could do it for free at home, but you can't call it Comedian.
Oh, well.
You could maybe call it Comedian 2.
Comedian 2.
You put 2 bananas up.
This is ludicrous.
Some idiot has bought it bought the rights to it, at least, for £5 million.
You know where I missed a trick once?
Oh, yeah.
I played snooker against Damien Hirst once.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I once played snooker with Damien Hirst. And all it would have taken for him to mark up the scores, and it was me and Roland Riveron against Keith Allen and Damien Hirst. How about that?
Wow.
And I was like this. So if he'd have done just a little sketch on anything, just a piece of... Can you just do it all? It would have made me a fortune.
Oh, yeah, millions.
Because I know a taxi driver that actually put his son or daughter through college, instead of getting a tip, he just did a little drawing for him. He sold it for thousands and thousands and thousands. So I missed a trick there.
That would have been good.
Wow. But anyway, so if you're like me and you think that is utterly bonkers and enough to make you forget the time, gbnews.com/yoursay.
So that's the reason you got the time wrong.
It is.
It was all down
Blaming
to me.
the banana.
Don't blame.
All
That's
down to
good
the
for you.
banana.
That is bonkers.
Anyway, look, the news is pretty serious this morning because the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, could face arrest if he dares come to the UK after the Prime Minister backed a move by the International Criminal Court to issue an arrest warrant for him and his former Defence Minister.
Well, the ICC also issued an arrest warrant for the Hamas leader, Mohammed Diaf, who Israel claims was killed in July.
Well, the International Criminal Court says the 3 men bear criminal responsibility during the war between Israel and Hamas.
Well, it's the first time a leader of a democracy and Western allied states have been charged by a court.
The US President, Joe Biden, called it outrageous. Benjamin Netanyahu said it was anti-Semitic.
Well, joining us now in the studio is Deputy Editor of Spite, Fraser Myers. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Fraser, what do you make of all of this?
I think I agree with Joe Biden. This is an outrageous decision. It treats the Israeli government, the Israeli Prime Minister and the former Defence Minister as essentially equivalent to Hamas. They are engaging in a war of defence. It's not a pretty war, as we know. It's a, what war is. It has had terrible consequences. That can't be denied. But they're fighting against a terrorist group that is committed to the genocide of Jewish people. I think the the ICC have taken a sort of Hamas in Wonderland view of the war, where they say Israel as the aggressors, Israel as the almost genociders. They don't use this term in this particular case, but that is how it's being presented. And I think, for Keir Starmer as well, to suggest that he would arrest an ally is extraordinary. I mean, it's shocking but not surprising because, of course, Keir Starmer seems to believe in nothing apart from the workings of international courts, international institutions.
Well, what about when they say it's, as Number 10 has said, it's an independent body?
Well, it might well be independent, but you should be able to criticise the decision, as Joe Biden has done, as many British Conservatives have done. It's also, Israel is not party to the ICC, so it doesn't even make sense to me on legal terms. The US and Israel are not. The irony is that because many Middle Eastern countries are not party to the ICC, Benjamin Netanyahu can go visit Egypt or Saudi Arabia and not face arrest, but if he touched down in London, he could face arrest. Now, I mean, how do you explain that conundrum? I think the ICC as well is a problematic court. I mean, it's been around since 2002. It's often talked about as if it's been there since the end of the war or something like that, as if it came out of the Nuremberg trials. That's not quite right. A lot of the people it has focused on, this is the first Western leader it has targeted. So, think about some of the other leaders that have done many worse things, responsible for many more deaths. Tony Blair, George Bush, Barack Obama, even non-Western leaders, Bashar al-Assad, the leaders of Saudi Arabia. There are many people. You do have to ask, well, why are they targeting certain people? I don't think it's to do with anti-Semitism. I don't think it's that straightforward. But I think there is something of a bit of a moral thrill, I think, that many lawyers in somewhere like The Hague get, that they get to make headlines, they get to be on exciting press releases, they get to feel like they're doing something, Sometimes the court ranges from pointless. I mean, they issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. I'm sorry, that's not going to do anything. Vladimir Putin is not going to be arrested and end up in The Hague, and to decisions like this, which are morally outrageous, which I think will only embolden Hamas. I mean, they have welcomed this, even though their own leaders are indicted. Hamas have welcomed this as a step forward for justice.
Does this put Hamas and Israel, according to the ICC, on the same moral equivalence?
I think it does. I think it does, issuing the arrest warrants for all of them, essentially, the Israeli Prime Minister, Israeli former Defence Minister and various Hamas leaders at the same time, in the same statements, often they're described together. I think it does create an equivalence, and we have to be clear, there is absolutely no equivalence. This war, Hamas is responsible for this war. It started this war with the 7th of October. It is putting its civilians deliberately in harm's way. It has a strategy of using them as human shields. It has many thousands of miles of tunnels, as many as the London Underground. It has never once invited civilians to hide in there. These are purely for terrorist leaders, whereas often terrorist leaders are hidden amongst civilians. So, if anyone is guilty of war crimes, it's clearly the other side in this. And, of course, we all want the war to end. We all want the war to come to a permanent peaceful resolution. And I think that's the difficulty here. And that involves, I think, eradicating Hamas because they're such a serious threat to Israel.
Has to be said, this decision by the ICC in and of itself is not unexpected.
No.
We knew it was coming down the line. I mean, even the last government knew it was coming down the line. But they'd said that they had told the ICC it would challenge the plans for the warrant. So it is within the remit of this government, isn't it, to say, no, we don't agree with this, we're not going to enforce it.
That's right, and I think they could also. There were earlier opportunities to challenge when the lead lawyer sought the warrant. There were opportunities to challenge that. They didn't take those opportunities. It also seems to have caught them off guard in the sense that we were expecting a decision after Christmas, actually. So, the statements come out from Keir Starmer seem a little bit all over the place, where he says, I respect the court, I respect the independence of the court. There's no plans to issue an arrest warrant because you actually have to do it through domestic means. The ICC doesn't have its own enforcement powers. But also, he says, as I've said, Keir Starmer has said, there's no moral equivalence between Israel and Hamas. I believe in Israel's right to defend itself, but then, that feels like a very heavily circumscribed right if you're going to potentially, issue an arrest warrant for the leader of Israel.
And surely all of this is going to complicate efforts to actually negotiate a ceasefire.
Well, I think that's exactly the point. Wars are not fought out between courts. The war is going to end through both military means and diplomatic means. And these kinds of injunctions are actually incredibly unhelpful. I'm not aware of any occasion where they've actually helped to bring a war to a satisfying conclusion. I think that there is a sense for many international lawyers, they seem to think that I don't know whether they think they can play God or something. They seem to think that they can stand above these conflicts and issue injunctions and orders, and as if things are resolved in that way. And that's just not how the world works, I'm afraid.
No, it's a very odd situation, isn't it? OK, Fraser, for now, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
12 minutes past 6, let's just run you through some of the other key stories this morning.
British lawyer Simone White has become the 5th tourist to die of suspected alcohol poisoning in Laos. An Australian, American and 2 Danes have also died in recent days following a spate of suspected poisonings in the popular backpacker destination. 2 other women are reportedly also in hospital. The US State Department said local authorities were investigating the case.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin has threatened to strike the UK with a new ballistic missile after using the weapon to hit a target in Ukraine. Downing Street condemned President Putin for further escalating the conflict by using a ballistic missile with a range of several thousand kilometres against the city of Dnipro.
Matt Gaetz, President-elect Trump's controversial pick for Attorney General, has withdrawn his name from consideration following days over debate over whether to release a report on alleged sexual misconduct and drug use. Posting on X, the 42-year-old said that the controversy over his potential nomination was unfairly becoming a distraction to the work of the incoming Trump administration.
And a volcano close to the Icelandic capital of Reykjavik has erupted for the 10th time in just 3 years. The country's meteorological office has said the volcano has been spewing fountains of lava and smoke since Wednesday. Despite this, the capital city and surrounding air traffic have not been affected.
Well, let's speak now to the director of the Israel Solidarity Movement, Keith Fraser. Good to see you, Keith. What do you make of this latest drama from the International Criminal Court? I mean, this means, in theory, that Benjamin Netanyahu faces arrest if he lands in Britain.
I think it's shocking. I think it's, I think it's shocking and I think it's laughable, to be honest. Israel is fighting one of the most difficult wars in the history of warfare. One of the most difficult wars in an area which is effectively a terrorist enclave. Hamas, who've basically been building this terrorist enclave for the last 17 years, tunnels, they've got 500, they've had 500 kilometers of tunnels, which is greater than the London Underground. They haven't been using it for getting to A to B. They've been using it to store their weapons, protect their fighters, not their civilians. And Israel has had an impossible job. You've got people like John Spencer, who's the leading voice in urban warfare worldwide, who's been there on the ground, who's seen and said that Israel has taken unbelievable steps to protect civilian life, millions of leaflets, text messages, phone calls, etc. And yet the ICC has taken this decision by effectively the prosecutor, who promised he wouldn't take a decision until he's visited Israel and the situation there on the ground. He didn't visit. One of the reasons was because of these sexual abuse allegations that suddenly came out, and he decided not to go. But he still went ahead and prosecuted Israel. It is laughable. And I tell you what, it is so laughable that the world and the ICC will reap what this decision sows, because it would encourage jihadist terrorist organizations like Hamas, backed by the Islamic Republic of Iran, who effectively want us next. That is the facts.
Of course, this is about whether or not the Israeli response to the horrors of October the 7th were proportionate. I mean, some of the charges against Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant, who, of course, is, up until very recently, his defence secretary, included the war crime of starvation as a method of warfare, murder and persecution. Now, of course, that is all, one would imagine, in relation to the fact that the people of Gaza have been stuck in this situation, unable to move, and you know, really not a lot of aid being allowed to get through.
Well, who do you blame? Do you blame Israel for defending itself against the most heinous crimes seen in the history of humanity, even above what the Nazis did? Well, you know, you look at this nonsense about starvation. There are hundreds of trucks going into Gaza daily, and much of it is being looted by Hamas. Hamas has made almost $1 billion because of the aid that it has been stealing and looting. You know, at the end of the day, you've got 750,000 tons of food that have gone into Gaza, and apparently there's over 3,000 calories a day for each Gazan. More than enough food has gone in to feed the Gazans. Unfortunately, the UN agencies on the other side, on the Gazan side, have not picked it up. There are stacks and stacks of aid on the Gazan side because the UN agencies have not done their job. It is an absolute joke. No country in the world would have gone to the lengths that Israel has done to help Gazans. And effectively, this is the enemy. I'm not saying the Gazan people are the enemy, but Hamas itself, that all the people that have been killed by Israel have been Hamas or members of their family. So I'm sorry, at the end of the day, Israel has effectively been doing their utmost to help the civilians. They've given them leaflets, they've dropped millions of leaflets, text messages, phone calls to get them out of harm's way. But Hamas has enabled the people and made sure that they've been in harm's way. There's not been one bomb shelter in Gaza, but there's been 500 kilometers of tunnels. Why? Answer that.
Well, that we cannot do, but it's good to talk to you. Keith Fraser, thanks very much indeed.
This all comes actually as the United Nations warned yesterday that Palestinians are facing diminishing conditions for survival in parts of northern Gaza under siege by Israeli forces. They say no aid, virtually no aid, has been delivered there in 40 days.
But it raises very serious questions about, I mean, in the middle of warfare is not nice. Of course it isn't. And for ordinary Gazans, it's been horrifically difficult. Of course it has. But then if you're going to say, as our Prime Minister has done, well, Israel has the right to defend itself, but then
you respect the decision of the court.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And I mean, President Biden has said it's outrageous, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. Anyway, let us know your thoughts, gbnews.com/yoursay.
Now let's have a look at the weather with Aidan McGibbon.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very cold start to the day today, but it's a fine day for many with some bright spells before Storm Bert brings some impactful weather through the weekend. So for many, yeah, slippery surfaces out there first thing, particularly where we've seen some sleet and snow over the last couple of days. Otherwise, actually, it's a break from the wintry weather with plenty of sunny spells, particularly towards the south and the east. Still feeling cold through the afternoon with highs of 5 to 7 Celsius, but perhaps not quite as cold as it did on Thursday. And we've still got some wintry showers moving in, particularly for northern and western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, northwest England and Wales. At lower levels, rain and sleet mostly, but over the hills the snow will continue to accumulate for northern and western Scotland, where we end the day with temperatures of -1 to +2 Celsius. Northern Ireland, likewise, clear spells as we go into the evening, so temperatures falling away, but a thin layer of cloud is starting to move in from the Atlantic. Showers continuing for northwest England as well as parts of Wales, but plenty of clear spells across the rest of England and Wales. And under those clear skies, temperatures are going to fall widely and quickly overnight, with well below freezing temperatures expected across parts of Scotland and eastern England through the early hours of Saturday. Meanwhile, Storm Bert sends its band of rain in. That's going to bring some very wet weather to western parts by dawn and some hill snow for Northern Ireland and parts of Wales. That hill snow will be temporary. It's soon replaced by rain. What's not temporary is the snow expected across northern England and Scotland on Saturday. 2 to 4 hours of heavy snow, 5 centimetres at lower levels, 10 centimetres for the Vale of York, up to 40 centimetres over the hills, particularly for central Scotland, where there is an amber warning. Later on, that turns back to rain. Very wet weather for Wales and the southwest, also very mild and windy for all of us.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Still to come for you, we're going to take a closer look at how Storm Bert could bring travel chaos this weekend. That's coming up next.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
This is The Guardian. They've announced they will no longer post content on Elon Musk's social media platform X, or as it's still known by everybody, Twitter. So they made an announcement to readers. I don't know why they have to announce it. It's like they'd announced they're leaving a party. And why? Oh, I'm leaving the party because there's pineapple in the potato salad and the sangria is warm. I don't know, like, just go. But they said they consider the benefits of being on the platform were now outweighed by the negatives, citing the often disturbing content and misinformation found on it. But there's going to be a bit less now because The Guardian's not going to be on it. Some of the far-right conspiracy theories that they talk about are now just like 50% of the time they come true. Look at Joe Biden's cognitive decline. That was a far-right conspiracy theory, and then it came true.
They linked to a Zoe Williams article. It was a hyperlink from that exact phrase, far-right conspiracy theories, which you've written a whole article about how dangerous X was now, what a slimy pit of disinformation. And one of the examples she gave was the far-right conspiracy theory that Algerian boxer was actually intersex, which is absolutely... And it was like, she was like, sued, Elon Musk was named in the libel trial.
If you're really bothered about what X is like, spend more time tweeting back, disagreeing with people, get stuck into the argument.
They could appoint a specific ex-correspondent, couldn't they? They don't have to have the whole newspaper there. It could just be their champion.
The Guardian were worried about misinformation that influences elections. They should have left in 2020 when Twitter, under its previous owners, colluded with the Democrat governments, colluded with executive branches of the government to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. It was classed as fake news. It was actually completely valid and true. And if they want to change people's minds and, make everybody better and more socialist, surely the people like me who are on Twitter are the ones they need to convince. So stay on Twitter and convince me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, have you been wearing your hats and gloves?
No.
The past few days?
No, I have been putting my big coat on, though.
Oh, you've got a big coat, that's good. I don't own anything practical, which probably doesn't surprise you.
My big coat's down here on the floor.
Oh, I wouldn't call that a big coat.
Wouldn't you?
It's a wool coat. There's no warmth in a wool coat. Well, I don't think so, anyway. But I did have to... OK.
Look at this. Listening on the radio, you don't know what I'm missing.
It's a nice wool coat, yeah.
It's lovely, that.
I think you need a big puffer for days like today.
Oh, no, I don't like them.
But actually, I was in London for my birthday on Wednesday, as you well know, and I had to stop in the shops for a hat, gloves, and scarf because I was just frozen.
Oh, dear.
I wasn't coping very well with the elements. It's because it's been freezing.
Yes.
You might need them this weekend as well because forecasters are warning that Storm Bert is going to bring heavy snowfall, rain and winds of up to 70 miles per hour to the UK.
Oh, it's the second named storm of the season, which has already seen hundreds of schools close as it sweeps in, bringing freezing temperatures and snow, as you will have seen in the week.
Well, as you can expect, disruption will be occurring this weekend, with the Health and Security Agency issuing amber cold weather alerts for much of England, ending at 6 p.m. tomorrow.
Oh, well, that's not too bad. Let's talk to meteorologist John Hammond. Morning to you, John. So, what are you expecting?
Well, we're going to lurch, actually, from one set of wintry hazards to another, actually. As you mentioned, it's the cold, it's the frost, it's the snow, which has affected various parts of the country over the last couple of days. Still very cold out there at the moment. There are still some sleet and snow showers dotted around. Actually, there are some that are drifting all the way down into the London area. So if you open up the curtains over the next hour or two and you see a whirl of flakes, don't be too surprised. Although the impacts from these are pretty limited, it'll just look very pretty, I think, for one or two places, even across the southeast first thing this morning. And there are these sorts of scenes elsewhere across the country from the snowfall we've seen earlier on this week. For all of us, it's still cold. Temperatures generally are hovering close to freezing at the moment, so ice is an issue. And today, another cold day. I think most of the showers will tend to ease off and they might turn a bit more sleety. It's not just as cold today as it has been the last few days. So a mixture of rain, sleet and snow showers. But actually for many today, bright and crisp and dry, and the winds pretty light as well. But then we lurch, as I say, from one set of winter hazards to another as Storm Bert revs up in the Atlantic. Now that is going to bring a whole swathe of wet weather for many of us by tomorrow morning. So transformation tomorrow morning, a lot of heavy rain and strong winds, but not just rain, because some of that cold air is going to get trapped for a time across northern parts of the country, and it's going to be tough to lodge, to displace, because cold air is dense air. So it takes a while for that cold air to be shifted out of the way. And that presents a problem because as that rain arrives tomorrow morning, it will turn to snow. So another period of quite heavy and persistent snow, we think, primarily across northern England, especially to the east of the Pennines, so up through parts of the Vale of York, so likes of York up into northeast England, Newcastle, places like that could be impacted by a few hours of heavy snow through tomorrow. And then onwards up into eastern Scotland, the sort of southeast Highlands up into the Grampians. Here we could see some really impactful snowfall through tomorrow. For other areas, snow limited to the highest ground of North Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland, but it will all eventually turn back to rain. And actually tomorrow, for most places, rain will be the main player, rain and strong winds as Storm Bert whistles up to the west of Scotland. So we go from ice and snow hazards to wind and rain hazards in this weekend. And actually, as we go through to Sunday, further heavy rain to come across the more southeastern parts of England. So I think flooding will be an issue for some places, particularly where you've got a lot of snow on the ground, which is going to melt very, very rapidly. And wind will be an issue. Winds gusting up to, 60, 70 miles an hour in some places. So that combination of wind and rain, I think, is going to make the headlines later on this weekend. Snow and ice will have gone by Sunday into Monday. And then beyond that, into next week, we lose the mild there and we're back into chilly conditions. So we might be talking about frost again and some wintry showers next week. That's a long way off. It's all happening.
It's very early in the season, isn't it, John, for snow? Is that a sign of things to come this winter, do you think?
I mean, it is. It is quite early. You don't normally see snow causing so many impacts in November. It's not unheard of. In fact, I can remember snowfall in late October, but that's very rare. But November, yeah, we don't often get snow, but it's not unheard of. And actually, although there will be some impacts again today. The threat of snow diminishes, as I say, through this weekend. And something more traditional in terms of severe weather, wind and rain, is going to be the problem. And I think for many of us who are probably out Christmas shopping, it's just going to be miserable. You won't need your woolly coats necessarily by Sunday. You'll need something waterproof, I think, Ellie, because that's the kit you'll have to wear later on this weekend. But as I say, as we go into next week, there are indications that cold air could come back again, Ellie. So is it a sign of things to come? We can't look too far ahead into sort of Christmas, dare I say. But certainly it does look as if cold air will be there or thereabouts as we head towards the end of the month and perhaps into the early days of December. Whether that cold air will last until the big day, I'm not going to commit to that one. You won't be surprised to hear.
No, don't blame you. John, good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miserable as it is.
Yeah. I bet it's beautiful up where you are, though. Is it really gorgeous when the snow settles?
Oh, when the snow settles, yeah, lovely. But at the minute, I hate driving in it. Obviously, it's a lot
I
of
thought
driving.
of you, actually, this morning.
Did you?
I said, well, I don't like coming in it, and you've got a lot further to go.
No, I don't. I'm not a fan of driving in it.
Are the roads icy?
No, they've been all right so far, and they have been gritted since yesterday.
That's good.
So that's a relief.
Because that's the trouble in rural areas, isn't it? I mean, if the gritters haven't been out, you can't go out anywhere, can you? It's not safe enough to. Anyway, let us know how you're getting along with the snow this week. gbnews.com/you'll-say.
If you want cheering up, how about the Great British Giveaway? It's the final day today to see how you could win Christmas on us. A whole load of tax-free cash, not cash-free tax. Festive goodies delivered to you in time for the celebrations. Here are the details. Best of luck to you.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, Paul Coit will be here with all the latest in sport. That's next.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are delays of up to an hour and a half to Stena Line sailings between Cairnryan and Belfast because of a technical problem. There are a number of road closures this morning because of snow, especially across the Cairngorms, parts of the north of England and southwest of England. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul. The A537 Cat and Fiddle route between Cheshire and Derbyshire is closed each way between Macclesfield and Buxton. Also in Derbyshire, the A54 closed between Orgreave and Bosley. In Staffordshire, the A53 is just passable between Longston and Leek. And in Dorset, the A352 is closed each way between Middlemarsh and Minton Magna. And train services are suspended between Exeter Central and both Barnstaple and Oakhampton because of a points failure. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Bansky's Girl with Balloon is arguably one of the artist's most recognisable images. So when a limited edition print signed by the artist was stolen from Grove Gallery in London, an investigation was launched by the Metropolitan Police's Flying Squad. The work was thankfully retrieved. The desire to own great works of art has once again become evident this week, albeit a little further afield on the continent. Police in Italy have uncovered a criminal network forging artworks by Bansky, Andy Warhol, Pablo Picasso and others. Investigators said that they've seized more than 2,100 fake pieces of art with a potential market value of about £165 million. With me to discuss that case is the Chief Executive of Grove Gallery, James Ryan.
The art world needs to tighten up. It is known as a bit of a Wild West out there because people will try and chance it with these forgeries. You're quite right, there's only one actual original, but even auction houses have been hoodwinked before.
The burglary that you suffered is sub judice, so we have to be careful what we say about it. But it must have been a bit of a shock to you. I mean, was it a broken window, a smashed door?
At 10, 11 o'clock at night and just hammer straight through, shoulder barging through the door and then in and out, gone in 60 seconds. I must say, I know...
Obviously, that targeted attack. The person would have known what he or she was after. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I must say, I know they cop a lot of flack, the police force, but the Flying Squad got got the artwork back within 3 days. They were fantastic. So yeah, I've never heard or seen, other than the Thomas Crown Affair type film, you know, I just didn't think it'd be happening to little old me, you know, in Fitzrovia, but it did, and thankfully we got it back.
GB News.
It's 6:36. Paul's here with all the sport. Good morning, Paul.
It's the Las Vegas Grand Prix. I can't help it because I always think of Viva Las Vegas.
Oh,
Did you ever see Viva Las Vegas with Elvis?
No.
It's one of the greatest.
Like Elvis.
Oh, was that your Elvis?
You don't like Elvis?
No.
How can you say you don't like Elvis?
I don't like Elvis. I don't like the music. Don't like the
Really?
accent. No.
Stephen.
What? Not young Elvis?
No.
Not rhinestone Elvis?
No.
The
Not
classics.
peacock suit Elvis?
No.
Not film Elvis?
No.
What about Elvis the Pelvis?
No.
Oh, you are mad.
I just know I don't. I've never been able. Look, not everybody. It's not universally.
Yes, he is.
I would say, yeah, I'd say what he is.
No, I don't like Elvis.
Ellie, you love Elvis,
I
don't
love
you?
Elvis.
I love Elvis.
I love Elvis. Don't you? I feel like everyone
Of course
does.
I do.
I think I'm the first person I met who doesn't.
I like to make myself popular with everyone. Watching and listening, because I know most of you will like Elvis. I know, but
Yeah,
I just
'cause we're
don't.
What are you, more Cliff Richard sort of guy, or what was?
I did like Cliff.
You
Oh,
like
there
Cliff?
you go.
There you go.
I've seen Cliff Richard in concert 3 times.
Cliff was the English Elvis
Well, he
because
was.
more people heard of Cliff before Elvis, although he was doing Elvis in the early days.
You do have questionable musical taste, just to say.
Anyway, Viva Las Vegas. You and me are going to sit down and watch the film. I'm going to make you watch the film.
Yeah.
All about Lucky Jackson, the Formula One driver who was a busboy, and they would sing Viva Las Vegas, and then he would drive the car. And it was anyway. The Las Vegas Grand Prix is this weekend. Just to let you know, there is some sort of method behind the madness. Last year, it was all a bit of a disaster. I don't remember. Carlos Sainz hit it was like a drain cover that was sitting up a little bit on the course, so there was problems there. Fans waited for hours and hours to see the practice runs, and then it turned out, but due to the hours that the people were working, the stewards were working, there's strict laws in Las Vegas. They had to say, sorry, everybody's out of hours now, so you've got to go. So they watched it for about 2 minutes. But anyway, this year, so much better organised. It looks like it's all going to be very good. Boys to Men will sing the national anthem, by the way. I think it's what...
Boys to Men.
Do you remember? End of the Road?
They're more like men
to old men.
pensioners.
Yeah, men to old men, I think is what they're going to call them now. So they're doing... Look, there's all these scenes of Vegas. This is a place you want to be right now, isn't it? £35,000 will buy you the ultimate VIP experience if you fancy that.
Oh, look, you can go to an Elvis impersonation.
Oh, wherever you go.
Right.
There's
You'd
more
love
Elvis
that.
impersonators in Vegas than anywhere else.
Oh.
Although the one in the middle's not
every
very good,
second.
is he? He doesn't look like Elvis at all, the one in the middle. But you get a paddock pass, you get working areas, you can go to Ramsey's Garage, which is Gordon Ramsay, has his own pop-up restaurant there. And also there's an ice rink in the Paddock Club, £35,000. No.
Yeah, no.
No, not even.
No, thank you.
No. As soon as I said Elvis, then you just weren't interested.
He was switched off, yeah.
Places like Vegas are not for me.
OK. Well, Lewis...
My brother and sister-in-law went to Vegas and hated it.
Did they really?
Yeah, and we're very similar in what the sort of things we like.
I went when I was a kid, and I think I was about 13. And although we're talking old Vegas, this is the old mafia Vegas, probably.
Yeah.
So went in there, and even in walking into the foyer of the hotel, they said, "Get this kid out of here." And it was like, because it was so much gambling, so for a child, it was a disaster. But anyway, these days, a little different. Lewis Hamilton, a week ago, was saying that, you know, when he was in the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, that he'd had enough and that maybe he was going to quit Mercedes. Whereas this morning, he's actually been fastest in practice. Now, the first practice run was at 2:30 this morning. So Lewis Hamilton was first. Mercedes George Russell second, so 1-2 for Mercedes. Considering the car was supposed to be so bad, that's worked very well. Lando Norris third. Max Verstappen is in fourth, and the second practice run, I'm looking at the time, is actually going on right now in Las Vegas.
Pep Guardiola has signed his contract, but it's 2 years, not 1.
2 years. Well, we were saying 1, weren't we, with that little possible of extension, but a 2-year deal. Joined in 2016. Do you know how many trophies Pep has won at Manchester City? What would you say?
16.
10.
Very good. Close. 18.
Oh, you win.
18 trophies. He said, I felt I could not leave now. Maybe the 4 defeats in a row is why. I think it's probably tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah.
But Manchester City, then 4 defeats in a row, they will play Tottenham Hotspur. tomorrow evening.
Oh, dear.
So,
Will you be attending?
defeats in a row. We wish. Yeah, so no, that's going to be at...
Fingers crossed for you.
That's at the Etihad. And also, I've got one more quick one for you about the darts.
Yeah.
Because the darts starts soon. That's going to be at the Alexandra Palace, at Ali Pali, as it always is. 3,500 fans. You know, this is another one. When I mentioned about getting tickets for things, to actually get tickets for the darts is virtually impossible. My wife's birthday's over that, and she wants to go to the darts. I said, can I get you tickets for the darts?
No. It's not a big enough venue, is it, really?
That's it.
Crucible's the same for the snooker.
That's it. And it's both Barry Hearn, who runs both... the snooker and also the darts as well. So it's under Matchroom. So Barry Hearn said with the snooker, you know, we need to move it away, and people think, well, you can't move from the Crucible. But also with Ali Pali, because the tickets, 90,000 tickets, which are available for the darts for the whole 2 weeks, they sold out in 15 minutes.
Wow.
15 minutes.
Quicker than Glastonbury.
You know what? It is quicker than Glastonbury. So maybe if they move to somewhere slightly bigger, then they'll be able to sell more tickets, everything. Yeah. So supply and demand and all
Maybe
that stuff.
Maybe they can go back to Essex.
About the money.
What the old Circus Tavern?
The old Circus
That's where
Tavern.
it used to be.
Purfleet, yeah.
Purfleet. Have you ever been to the Purfleet Circus?
I have not, but I do know it exists.
You fit in very well.
I think you'd fit in very well.
Yeah, you would. You do very well.
You'd sit with your beer. 180, doing all that, honestly.
That'd be brilliant.
I think it would be fabulous.
Brilliant. Right, Paul, thank you.
Thank you.
See you later on.
Thanks, Coity. Do you stay with us? We're going to be going through the papers next.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
Telegraph now with bra news. And Lewis, do you remember when you took your girlfriend for her first fitting?
This is M&S Trans Row. I've got a youngish girlfriend. But
she was youngish when you first met her 20 years ago.
Yes, stay young. I don't like. I don't even want to read it. So it's so pervy. It sounds pervy. If I think it's pervy, it's probably very pervy.
Okay.
It says it's first bras for young things. They can't even say young girls.
Well, let's have a look at it. It is it's upsetting. Strong, smart, strong, supported. First bras for fearless young things. So this has been picked up. Actually, Bev Turner from GB News. Took a photo of it, put it online, it's created a bit of a furore.
First of all, those kind of bras are basically unnecessary. They were, when I was that age...
Wearing your bra?
Yeah, those bras, they used to call them training bras. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they really were necessary at that time because they didn't have, like...
You've really got to the heart of this, haven't you?
This is the one time I'm not going to interrupt you.
Yeah, it's not... No, they're not really necessary. It's like, it's not... Because otherwise...
So really, this is a non-story.
Okay.
Well, I think it's... I don't know. I mean, there was a little bit of me that was kind of like, pick your battles. Is this the hill to die on? I don't know.
The young things, they're saying I would say it's a dodgy advert anyway, it feels like, because saying young things feels like it's as it says here, like objective. It's sort of saying that they're objects.
Yes, but this is my point about the West. Like, are you aware of a company called Pretty Little Thing? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, one of the major brands for young women in this country is called Pretty Little Thing. I just think that's hilarious. Where were the feminists when they named that? So you go on the tube any day of the week and it says Pretty Little Thing, and there's these women in tiny dresses, and I don't know.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Andrew Pearce. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
6:45, let's go through the papers this morning with former Labour advisor Matthew Torbit and the author and journalist Emma Wolfe. Good morning to you both.
Morning,
Emma,
you two.
let's kick off with the Mail, should we? And the boiler tax.
You literally couldn't make it up. If Labour wanted to become any more unpopular by targeting, things that people do every day, like buses and pensioners and warmth and now the boilers. So these are the kind of ambitious targets that we know are in the pipeline from, actually, Ed Miliband is obsessed with these targets, but his very, very ambitious net zero climate change targets require a big shift, or will require a big shift away from gas boilers. So his new wheeze, his latest plan, is to slap these kind of swinging taxes on the boiler manufacturers themselves.
Oh, so that will affect the prices?
Of course it will, yeah. So they need, he wants them to ensure that 6% of new installations are heat pumps, which people don't really want. There are quite high grants that you can get for heat pumps, so they are the numbers are actually increasing a bit. But what it means is if you don't install 6% and then rising to 10% as a boiler manufacturer, you're going to be fined. So it's, I think, a fine of £500 in the first year, then it goes up to a couple of thousand in the subsequent years. But, I mean, there are lots of arguments against heat pumps as well. Lots of people saying they don't produce enough heat from the pumps. They can't be installed properly. So it's a tricky one, but obviously it makes a great headline, and I think it's going to do Labour yet more damage. Because boiler tax, it sounds a bit like the bedroom tax and the death tax and the, freeze your grannies and all of that.
People don't like taxes, and I must admit, I should be better at this sort of stuff. As soon as I hear about the climate, I just switch off, and that's just, I can't be bothered.
What You're not alone.
No, I know this is the thing, and this is the sort of the position Labour finds itself in. I do think climate change is a thing, and I think we have to, take aims to tackle it. I think you have to bring people with you on this, though, and I think because of that, there needs to be an increase in grants. There is going to be part of an increase. People are going to get up to £7,500 per household for these heat pumps. And having a quick look before, the average heat pump will cost between £2,500 or £14,000. I don't know enough about the differences, but if you want to make a change, and also if we can rely on our sort of whether it be renewable energy or whatever else, you've got to try and bring people with you. I think the idea of it being a boiler tax isn't going to go down well with lots of people, as Emma said.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is, £7,500 is a lot of money for a grant. However, if you are having to buy if you've got a bigger house or an older house and you're having to buy one of the bigger pumps, then they still say, well, you've got to pay £5, £6, £7 to get a heat pump. It's a lot more than you'd pay for a boiler.
And there is so much still that can be done in terms of insulation on, as you say, bigger, older houses that maybe can't have heat, because not all houses can have heat pumps installed. I think they're focusing on sort of new builds, so they need to install heat pumps in those. But, a lot of our housing stock, the majority of our housing stock is going to be buildings that are already built, that are there, and people kind of retrofitting heat pumps may not always, it may not always work. So I think
feel very thought through.
Basic insulation for every single house in the country would go a very, very long way.
Matthew, let's take a look at what's on most of the papers this morning. This is the International Criminal Court issuing arrest warrants for the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Yoav Gallant, and the Hamas military leader as well.
Yeah, I was surprised, I must admit. I was surprised at the timing. My understanding is the timing has come because the Israeli government had tried to appeal this decision and therefore it had been pushed back. I always defer to sort of the experts on this sort of stuff. I'm not on I was fortunate enough to go to both Israel and Palestine last year before the October 7th attacks, and I've spoken to various people on the ground there. I was fortunate enough in DC a couple of weeks ago to go to a lecture by Omer Bartov, who is widely renowned as the world leading expert on genocide and war crimes, and I think it shouldn't be the case, but he tends to get more credence because he is Israeli himself. He was under no illusions that there are war crimes going on in Israel, in the Middle East at the moment. He said that wasn't the case at first. And, Israel, I think, at first acted in proportion. There is, such a thing as a war of defence. Israel came under attack, and I think anybody with any, more than 2 brain cells can say you have every right to defend yourself. I think from what I can see, and I must admit I try not to watch lots of it because I find it upsetting, to be perfectly honest. It's awful on all sides out there. But if what seems to be the case is that you're using starvation as a sort of tool or a tactic with regards to war, that is as clear as day that it is war crimes. And I think the difference we have...
that's the allegation. But of course, that's denied. I mean,
and that was countered by your commentator, who said actually more than enough food is going in. It's the management of that food and distribution of that food, and even Hamas using it on their own side as a...
Which may be the case. I seem to remember, and I'm happy to be corrected, that there is less food than what there was going in. Therefore, if it was aid in the first place pre-war, I don't see how less of it is going to be any better. If anything, you need an increase in aid, surely.
Very possibly, but then how do you counter the fact that that aid is being collected by Hamas and stored for them and sold to others and all? I mean, the problem with all these issues is it's not black and white, is it? And by bringing forward an arrest warrant, that makes it even more confusing. So, in effect, wouldn't the UK government be better off at the moment saying we're not happy with this as it currently stands and trying to step away from it rather than just saying, well, if it's what the ICC wants, then they can have it?
I think, as we're signed up as a supporter, I think you've almost got to go along with, well, OK, we, as a signatory, we will, arrest Betty. I think the other difference, actually, just before I get onto that, is there is an arrest warrant on the other side, and that does show that things aren't black and white. I assume he's dead by the sounds of it, the Mohammed chief. But I think there is bad on all sides of this. And what I remember is, even on a political point of this, Benjamin Netanyahu, in opinion polls, a few weeks after October 7th, was the person that the Israeli people blamed. 90% of people, which I thought was ridiculously high, blamed him for a security lapse. I thought politically the only way he could survive this was to almost deliver the heads of Hamas on a platter and say, look, I know I messed up, but I've gone and got these people and we can all move on. Since we've seen senior people being killed by Israel and the government, it's carried on all the more. There doesn't seem to be a wish to end this by Netanyahu himself. Now, whether the court has made the right choice, that will remain to be seen, but I don't see where the answer lies.
No. OK, shall we move on? Just because we've only got a minute left, Emma. Tell us, this is in the Express, medical spaghetti.
Yeah, this is fascinating. So the world's thinnest spaghetti has been created by scientists. And it is 200 times thinner than a human hair. But it is actually made of flour and water. It is actually spaghetti. It's not for eating. It would dissolve. If you put it in boiling water, it would dissolve in less than a second. It couldn't be cooked like, Capelli d'Angeli, the hair of angels, the very, very, very thin, lovely pasta that you get in Italy. It's like millions of times thinner than that. It's extremely fine strips. They're called nanofibers, and they're basically going to be used in medical research and for use as sort of bandages and for keeping out infection, but for keeping moisture and water out as well. And it's literally made from flour pushed through these tiny, tiny electrical charges called electrospinning. So it is actually spaghetti, but can't eat it.
Wow. Well, next time you cut yourself, get the lasagna out. That's what we say. All right, thanks both. Good to see you. See you in the next hour.
Thank you very much, you two. Now, it's been very chilly this week, hasn't it? Going to be even colder this weekend. Aidan McGibbon has the details for us.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very cold start to the day today, but it's a fine day for many with some bright spells before Storm Bert brings some impactful weather through the weekend. So for many, slippery surfaces out there first thing, particularly where we've seen some sleet and snow over the last couple of days. Otherwise, actually, it's a break from the wintry weather with plenty of sunny spells, particularly towards the south and the east. Still feeling cold through the afternoon with highs of 5 to 7 Celsius, but perhaps not quite as cold as it did on Thursday. And we've still got some wintry showers moving in, particularly for northern and western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, northwest England and Wales. At lower levels, rain and sleet mostly, but over the hills, the snow will continue to accumulate for northern and western Scotland, where we end the day with temperatures of -1 to +2 Celsius. Northern Ireland, likewise, clear spells as we go into the evening, so temperatures falling away, but a thin layer of cloud is starting to move in from the Atlantic. Showers continuing for northwest England as well as parts of Wales, but plenty of clear spells across the rest of England and Wales. And under those clear skies, temperatures are going to fall widely and quickly overnight, with well below freezing temperatures expected across parts of Scotland and eastern England through the early hours of Saturday. Meanwhile, Storm Bert sends its band of rain in. That's going to bring some very wet weather to western parts by dawn and some hill snow for Northern Ireland and parts of Wales. That hill snow will be temporary. It's soon replaced by rain. What's not temporary is the snow expected across Northern England and Scotland on Saturday. 2 to 4 hours of heavy snow, 5 centimetres at lower levels, 10 centimetres for the Vale of York, up to 40 centimetres over the hills, particularly for central Scotland, where there is an amber warning. Later on, that turns back to rain. Very wet weather for Wales and the southwest, also very mild and windy for all of us.
Woo! A chilly start will give way to a lovely, warm afternoon. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Dumfries and Galloway, there are delays of up to an hour and a half to Stena Line sailings between Cairnryan and Belfast because of a technical problem. There are a number of road closures this morning because of snow, especially across the Cairngorms, the Peak District, and in the southwest of England. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul. From Cheshire into Derbyshire, the A537 Cat and Fiddle Road is closed each way between Macclesfield and Buxton. Also in Derbyshire, the A54 is closed each way between Orgreave and Bosley. In Staffordshire, the A53 is just passable between Lungston and Leek, and in Dorset the A352 is impassable between Middlemarsh and Minton Magna, and train services are suspended between Exeter Central and both Barnstaple and Oakhampton because of a points failure and snow. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
This is the Fuck.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good morning to you. Sir Keir Starmer backs the International Criminal Court after it issues an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, that's as the Israeli leader slams the charges from the International Court as anti-Semitic.
Well, Conservatives here and American allies have condemned the ICC's move as outrageous.
Vladimir Putin issues a chilling threat after UK-supplied weapons are used in Russia as he increases strikes on Ukraine. We'll be asking this morning whether we need to do more to support Ukraine.
As the winter weather sets in, Ofgem have announced an increase to the energy price cap in a cost of living blow to Britons.
Cracking down on antisocial behaviour, the government resurrects ASBOs in order to enhance police powers.
A clash at the box office as Wicked is released today. Could the musical phenomenon topple Gladiator 2?
Winter weather set to lash the UK as Storm Bert rolls in, bringing with it strong winds, heavy rain, and for some, plenty of snow.
Coming up in the weather forecast, I'll have the latest on Storm Bert, expected to bring disruptive wind, rain, and in some places, snow this weekend.
And with a busy sporting weekend ahead, Lewis Hamilton is currently fastest in practice for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. The Premier League returns as Pep finally announces his 2-year contract at Manchester City. And in rugby, England prepare to reunite with Eddie Jones as he coaches Japan against them at Twickenham this weekend.
It's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast. Oh, we've got views.
We have got views. Jack likes extreme weather.
Oh, that's not it.
Is he a storm chaser?
Sort
Jack,
of,
pretty
yes.
much, yeah.
He likes to be on the beach at 5 in the morning in Blackpool when all the punters are in bed. Beaches, and I agree with you, Jack, beaches are best with no humans on them.
But, Jack, it's freezing and dark.
What are you thinking, Jack?
What is compelling you to be out in
I
there?
bet he's out with a dog. Have you got a dog, Jack?
Have you got a dog, Jack?
Dogs
Also,
why do dogs love beaches? I always love
it's the
beaches.
sand in their paws, I think.
Yeah.
And they can run free.
That's
Also, it's very
lovely.
windy on a beach. I've got lots of questions for you, Jack. Have you got a tent? Or is it just you?
No, just people out walking.
No, it needs a wind... What's it called?
No,
the wind...
windbreaker.
Windbreaker.
No, he'll just be out walking.
I mean,
It's
summer it's
lovely.
nice, but, you know, during the winter it's dark and there's nobody there and you can't see anything and it's freezing cold.
Oh no, I can see.
Can you?
I can see the appeal of that, but not when it's like really blustery.
No.
Really cold.
Okay.
Oh, sometimes it's nice, though. It blows the cobwebs away.
It's nice on the front though at Blackpool.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Duncan on the weather says it's that time of year when all the weather forecasters are surprised that winter is here. Yeah, everyone always seems a bit surprised. Oh, it's cold.
Yes.
Well, it's November, isn't it?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, that's so true, actually.
Yeah.
I was in a coffee shop yesterday, when I wasn't here with you. Sorry about that. I was in a coffee shop yesterday afternoon and everybody walked in going, oh, my gosh, it's so cold.
Yeah, I know.
One after the other.
I've done it too.
I was like, we must be so annoying to the people behind the
So
counters.
you were able to go to a coffee shop
I
in the
was.
morning?
I managed to resurrect myself.
Because you said you couldn't come into work yesterday because you would have a hangover.
Yeah, and I did, and it wouldn't have been professional. So it was the right decision. It was the right decision. I woke up at 18 minutes past 3 yesterday.
Was it the right decision?
I don't know. I think it would have been fun if you'd come in.
I woke up naturally at 18 minutes past 3 yesterday morning.
Did you? So you could have come in?
I thought I was going to die.
But was your head... Oh, right, fine.
So
OK.
it's for the best for everyone involved that I took a day of annual leave. We've got a view here from David, who says it's normally down to us farmers to clear the rural roads of snow. Just another job taken for granted by a selfish government.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing the work that farmers do, just keeping everything going. On Elvis.
Yes.
Robert is outraged that I don't like Elvis.
So am I.
And thinks I need to have a long think about this. And I also
He does, Robert.
I also need to
say, Susan Holder, who you know comes on, does the papers.
Yeah.
He's a big Elvis fan.
Yeah.
Of course, Noddy Holder's wife.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now I like Noddy.
But listen, if Noddy says...
She said
then...
she's written an Elvis-inspired rom-com and she's coming in on Sunday and she's going to bring me a copy of it. She said, I'm not going to bring you a copy now.
Right, OK.
So...
Oh, Susan, you can bring me a copy, please. She's been in Nashville doing a research trip.
Oh, yes, yeah.
That's a great kind of trip.
Sorry, Susan, no. But I'll have... if Noddy's got any spare albums lying about, bring them down.
I'm going to bring my old VHS of Fun in Acapulco. That'll win you over.
VHS?
Yes. Where Elvis dives off the cliffs and then he does an amazing dive and then he comes out like that and his hair is completely dry and it looks fantastic. I mean, it's just the whole thing about Elvis.
Have you got a VHS player?
No. There's a nice picture on the front.
Yeah.
Susan's with me, though. Can't stand Elvis, never liked him.
Yeah. I'm just back to Susan Holder. I like the first text. Do you appreciate that? You don't like Elvis, she says. I'm all shook up. Very good.
Right, enough of that. And on to serious matters. If you want to keep your thoughts coming through, by the way, gbnews.com/yoursay. Now, the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, could face arrest if he comes to Britain after Sir Keir Starmer backed the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for him and his former defence minister.
Well, the ICC also issued an arrest warrant for Hamas leader Mohammed Daif, who Israel claims was killed in July.
Well, the ICC believes the three men bear criminal responsibility for crimes during the war between Israel and Hamas.
Well, it's the first time that a leader of a democracy and a Western allied state have been charged by the court.
Well, President Biden has called the decision outrageous. Benjamin Netanyahu himself has said it's anti-Semitic.
Well, joining us in the studio now is Deputy Editor of Spiked, Fraser Myers. Good to see you, Fraser.
Good to be here.
What do you make of all of this?
I think it's extraordinary, in particular Keir Starmer's, essentially going along with the ICC ruling. I mean, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu's not going to pay us a visit anytime soon, but could you imagine the spectacle of having a world leader, fellow ally, fellow democratic ally arrested in Britain? I mean, it absolutely beggars belief. And it's all the more bizarre because, we support Israel. The official position of the UK government is to support Israel. To what extent does Keir Starmer think? A lot of people on the left are saying, well, does that mean Keir Starmer is implicated in this too? In general, I think we have to reject this ruling, or it's not quite a ruling, but these arrest warrants. I think it's absolutely extraordinary in that it creates a false equivalence, I think, between Hamas and Israel. Hamas is the one committing war crimes. October 7th was an extraordinary war crime, killing innocent civilians, more than 1,000 innocent civilians, taking hundreds of people hostages. Those are clear-cut war crimes. No one can deny that. What Israel is waging is a war. It's a bloody war, it's a brutal war, but it is a war, and we need to make a very clear distinction between those two things.
But wars are not without rules.
That is correct. Wars are not without rules, but at the same time, it just seems as if we're in the middle of this war. We want there to be a negotiation. We want the hostages to come home. I don't see how this actually helps bring things to an end. In fact, I think it only. In many ways, it's going to make Israel feel more isolated, feel that it doesn't have the international community on its side. Certainly, it makes no difference to Hamas. I mean, they couldn't care less what the ICC says. That if Mohammed Deif were alive, he wasn't going to, he was never going to turn himself into The Hague, and no one was going to send him there. It only emboldens them. In fact, I think it allows them to say that they're on the side of justice, or at least that Israel is a kind of waging a criminal war, when really this is a war of defence, ultimately.
What do you think this means for Benjamin Netanyahu's popularity at home?
Well, it's hard to say, actually. I mean, he is under a lot of pressure for various reasons, partly to do with the war, in the sense that the hostages have not been brought home. People in Israel back the war in general, but many people worry that it's not being prosecuted in the best way of bringing home the hostages, but also various other political scandals. But it might, it might create a sense, that the world is out to get Israel. I think that's what it's creating, and I think that might actually boost his popularity, if anything, if he's seen as being unfairly persecuted by the international community. And let's not forget, it's not just this ICC arrest warrants. It's also the case in the ICJ, the accusations of genocide, again, ludicrous accusations. There's the fact that many Western countries are, basically curtailing their aid to Israel. There's all kinds of shenanigans at the UN. So there are many reasons why Israelis will feel isolated and might actually end up strengthening Netanyahu's domestic position for that reason.
Yeah, good. Well done. OK, Fraser, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Now, Vladimir Putin has threatened to strike the UK with a new intercontinental ballistic missile after using the weapon to hit a target in Ukraine.
Well, the Russian president confirmed that Russia had tested that new intermediate-range weapon, saying it came in response to Ukrainian strikes on the Russian territory with US and British missiles earlier this week.
Well, a member of Ukraine's parliament, Kira Rudik, joins us now. Good to see you, Kira. As always, what impact do you think these threats from Putin are likely to have on the support that Ukraine currently enjoys from countries like the United Kingdom?
Hello, Stephen, and thank you so much for having me. Well, we need to make it very clear that these threats are empty threats from Putin that intend to have the support from the Western allies decreased. He was threatening the world since the day one of full-scale invasion, putting red lines. If Ukraine gets Patriot missile systems, then if Ukraine gets tanks, ammunition, if we get fighter jets, there will be Third World War. That was his statements. And you see, he is not able to go ahead on those threats because the only thing that Russia is good at is terrorizing peaceful cities with the missiles, and they are not even good in defending their own country. So that's why our Kursk operation was successful, that Ukraine was able to go ahead inside Russia. Right now, when they see that the Western support is actually helping Ukraine to defend ourselves against Russian terrorist attacks, he is expanding the threats. There are two actually targets of that. The first is our Western allies, and it's also population inside Russia who want to see their state strong and want to see their leaders strong. I think that the Western leaders understand the value of these threats and understand that the only language that Russia understands is the language of force, the language of power. And this is why we keep asking to continue strengthening Ukraine in our defense against Russia and its terrible aggression.
Kira, this week marked 1,000 days of this war in Ukraine. It does feel like it's really ramping up, especially in the past few days and weeks. We've got North Korean soldiers, haven't we, fighting for Russia. And now the use of long-range missiles inside Russia, but then Russia using these new intermediate-range missiles inside Ukraine. How does that make you feel, the sense that things are escalating rather than de-escalating?
Well, for us, things didn't really change because Russia keeps attacking us every single night. I cannot remember, honestly, last night, in last month, that I would not have to spend in a bomb shelter or a parking lot, or my family wouldn't have to, because those air raid attacks, they're happening, and every single night the sirens are on. We are talking right now about Russia launching the middle-range missile, but just last week they targeted Odessa, killing 12 people in the residential building, or the city of Sumy. And though these things are not maybe being covered in the international news, but they are happening. So for us, it doesn't feel like an escalation. It feels that Russia gets more desperate, and they are trying to get as much as possible in potential negotiations if Donald Trump comes into the office and really executes on his campaigning promise to get to the negotiation table. That is all that it is. And we need to be very mindful about why Russia is doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Trump, actually, and whether this was sort of caused, if you like, by the Trump election and Putin having sort of a last push before Trump comes to power. Are you positive? Do you feel quite positive about what Donald Trump may achieve with all of this?
Well, when he was campaigning with the statement that he can end the war in 24 hours, I can tell you there is only one good way of ending the war in 24 hours is pressuring Putin into pulling back his troops. And can Donald Trump, who poses himself as a really strong leader, can he achieve that? Well, I think we will see that in January. However, we have already been in negotiations with Russia since 2014. There has been at least 200 rounds of negotiations after the ceasefire. And look where it led us, up to the full-scale invasion that they started. So I really want to hope that Donald Trump and his administration would not repeat the mistakes that were already been made, and wouldn't trust Russia, and wouldn't go into negotiations without the way of making sure that they keep their part of the bargain. Of course, there are many people worrying in Ukraine that we may be pressured into capitulation. But right now, we don't see how that is possible, because we made a choice to fight, and we did not change this choice. We continue fighting every single day.
Kira Rudik, really good to see you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, and glory to Ukraine.
Now, at 15 minutes past 7, let's take a look at some other stories coming to the newsroom this morning.
Well, the British lawyer Simone White has become the 5th tourist to die of suspected alcohol poisoning in Laos. An Australian, American, 2 Danes have also died in recent days following a spate of suspected poisonings in the popular backpacker destination. 2 other women are also in hospital. The US State Department said local authorities were investigating.
Households can expect energy bills to rise again from January. This is Ofgem's second consecutive wintertime increase to the price cap, with bills set to rise by 1.2%, the average rise of £21 per family.
New measures will give police the power to crack down harder on antisocial behaviour, coming as part of the government's attempts to return order to our streets, apparently. Breaching what they're calling a respect order will carry the threat of being arrested and a possible prison sentence, as well as the risk of an unlimited fine.
Matt Gaetz, President-elect Trump's controversial pick for Attorney General, has withdrawn his name from consideration following days of debate over whether to release a report on alleged sexual misconduct and drug use. Posting on X, the 42-year-old said that the controversy over his potential nomination was unfairly becoming a distraction to the work of the incoming Trump administration.
I don't understand the Matt Gaetz story. In that, I don't understand why Trump put him forward in the first place. Talking to the chairman of Republicans Abroad UK,
Greg Swenson.
Good old Greg Swenson, who we like very much on this programme. And he was saying, when we're talking about that nomination, he said, well, it's never going to get through.
No.
You can't just be nominated. It all has to be gone through Congress and what have you. He said, it'll never go through. So he's saying he just thinks Trump was just trying to sort of throw a grenade into the room,
Yeah.
so, just for a bit of excitement, as it were. He said Matt Gaetz will never be Attorney General. And a week later, he's proved right. And Greg knows what he's talking about. But it does raise the question, why did Trump put him forward in the first place? Because he knew it wasn't going to happen.
Maybe just having a bit of fun with it.
Maybe.
He's got time to do that, hasn't he?
The sort of daft thing was Matt Gaetz has resigned his seat already. So he's not going back to the old job because he's quit it already. So I don't know where it leaves him.
No, it's all a bit of a complicated picture now, isn't it?
It is. But the new nominee has been put forward. I can't remember her name now. But she's been put forward already. So that's much more likely to get the approval through Congress.
Now, 18 minutes past 7, let's have a look at the weather with Aidan McGibbon.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very cold start to the day today, but it's a fine day for many with some bright spells before Storm Bert brings some impactful weather through the weekend. So for many, slippery surfaces out there first thing, particularly where we've seen some sleet and snow over the last couple of days. Otherwise, actually, it's a break from the wintry weather with plenty of sunny spells, particularly towards the south and the east. Still feeling cold through the afternoon with highs of 5 to 7 Celsius, but perhaps not quite as cold as it did on Thursday. We've still got some wintry showers moving in, particularly for northern and western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, northwest England and Wales. At lower levels, rain and sleet mostly, but over the hills, the snow will continue to accumulate for northern and western Scotland, where we end the day with temperatures of -1 to +2 Celsius. Northern Ireland, likewise, clear spells as we go into the evening, so temperatures falling away, but a thin layer of cloud is starting to move in from the Atlantic. Showers continuing for northwest England as well as parts of Wales, but plenty of clear spells across the rest of England and Wales. And under those clear skies, temperatures are going to fall widely and quickly overnight, with well below freezing temperatures expected across parts of Scotland and eastern England through the early hours of Saturday. Meanwhile, Storm Bert sends its band of rain in. That's going to bring some very wet weather to western parts by dawn and some hill snow for Northern Ireland and parts of Wales. That hill snow will be temporary. It's soon replaced by rain. What's not temporary is the snow expected across northern England and Scotland on Saturday. 2 to 4 hours of heavy snow, 5 centimetres at lower levels, 10 centimetres for the Vale of York, up to 40 centimetres over the hills, particularly for central Scotland, where there is an amber warning. Later on, that turns back to rain. Very wet weather for Wales and the southwest, also very mild and windy for all of us.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's time now for the Great British Giveaway. It's actually the final day to see how you could win Christmas on us. Well, Angela from Wigan was one of our most recent winners, and she's going to be having a fabulous time this Christmas. Here's what she said about getting her hands on all that cash.
Hi, I'm Angela from Wigan and I won £30,000 with the Great British Giveaway. I could not believe it. I thought it was a joke. Winning the money enabled me to treat my children, which I've not been able to do for a while. And yeah, it's given us peace of mind now at night. I'd say to people who want to enter or are wondering whether to enter to do it. It's one text, and if I can win, anyone can win, because I don't win anything. This is the first ever prize I've ever won, and it happens to people like me.
And it could happen to people like you, too. Whoever you are watching and listening right now, it could be you for Christmas. £25,000 in tax-free cash, festive goodies, vouchers, everything you need for a great Christmas. Here are the details. Still to come, as you can tell from Ellie's dress, Wicked is out today, but will it be a big hit at the box office?
I think so. We're going to a break now.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking, this is the nightmare for the Conservatives again. Down to earth. It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it? And most importantly, honest. Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them. They catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about?
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. The time has come. The much-anticipated musical is finally out in the cinemas. What are we talking? You're going to go see it with my mum. Steph Tetchy's here to tell us all.
Hello. I've got the excitement for you because I'm genuinely excited to see this. This film has been 10 years in the making. Universal's been trying to get this film to the cinemas. We know it's a beloved Broadway musical. Also in the West End, it's done well. But over 10 years, it's taken a long time to get to the cinemas. They've had many directors, but finally John Schuster is in the box office, because you can imagine most females are going to be going to watch Wicked, while most men will want to get their fix of Gladiator with Paul Mescal.
And that's true with us, isn't it? Because you will be watching Gladiator and I'll be going to see Wicked.
Gladiator. I can see the appeal of Gladiator. There's Denzel Washington in Gladiator as well.
Have you seen this one, Steph?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm actually going to see both of them this weekend because I have actually bought into the marketing hype. Because last year it was all about Barbenheimer, and we saw how well that done for cinemas. And I think since the pandemic, it's all been about getting bums back on seats. So I'm going to see both of them, and I think both of them have big shoes to fill because Gladiator, 20 years sequel, waiting for the sequel. And then also with Wicked, what we tend to find in the industry is musicals tend to not translate well when it comes to cinemas. You know, we've seen Les Miserables and some other, you know, blockbusters which haven't done well. Yeah, so I think it will be a really good clash of the titans.
And I've heard that Ariana Grande sang live.
She did, actually. When I was reading about it, she insisted that she was going to sing live because she was like, she felt like it would give cinema goers a better flavour for the musical. But actually, people who are going to watch the film this weekend, they've been banned from singing along.
Oh, really?
Yeah, cinemas have said it disrupts the whole cinema viewing, so they're saying, like, do not sing along to the musical, which is a shame.
But I think that's a really good... The fact she's singing live in it, because the one thing I hate with these shows is when suddenly the song kicks in and you can tell it's all been done in a sound studio.
Well, I think you can't have someone like Ariana Grande as one of your main stars of it and then, you know, her singing it, not singing it live. I think, you know, her fans know how she sounds live. She's got an amazing voice, and I think to do this film justice, it's good that she is actually going to be singing it live.
Wait, though, for the next one.
Next year, well, that's why it has to do really well this year in the box office, because if it does well, then there's going to be that anticipation for it next year.
Have they shot it already?
Yeah, they have.
Oh, right.
They have. It's already in the bag, it's definitely going to happen.
Do you know what I'm finding annoying with cinema at the moment? I don't know whether this is intentional, that we're waiting so long for a decent film to come out and then two come along at once.
Well, that's the thing. I think now a lot of, like, directors and a lot of picture houses are realising when you can build this kind of marketing hype about having good films coming out, you can kind of focus on that, and it actually makes cinema goers more interested in going to the cinema themselves than waiting for it to come out. And I think at the moment, cinemas and films, they have a big battle against Netflix, Amazon and all those places. So to have these big moments like you're having today, which is Glick Day, you need those big moments.
Interesting. Denzel Washington.
Oh, yes.
I heard, I saw an interview with him the other day saying he was, when he lost out for an Oscar, in about 2000, was it?
Yeah.
And he really sort of fell out of love with and became quite bitter about the Oscars and what have you.
That doesn't seem very Denzel Washington. I've interviewed him before and he was so full of optimism, but I think for someone like Denzel Washington who's had such a vast career, those moments of Oscar moments are very far and few between, so I can imagine for any actor missing out on that, it feels quite bittersweet.
He is an incredible
he's amazing. He's been like one of my favourite interviewees ever.
I bet. He's nice in the flesh.
He is.
See, that's nice.
Yeah, because some of them aren't.
Who's the nicest celebrity you've ever interviewed?
I really do think it's Denzel Washington.
Really?
Or genuinely, if we weren't talking about him, I would have said him, because he was just really motivational when I was interviewing him, and I think what you see is what you get with Denzel. And Dame Judi Dench.
Oh, really?
I like a Dame, and I like Judi Dench.
Although I've never interviewed him myself, a lot of people say Matt Damon is actually really nice. Really
I think he's a good guy of Hollywood. He is a good guy. There's some miserable ones, but I'm not going to name them.
No.
Not till I get my book out.
That would be a great read.
All right, Steph, thanks very much indeed.
Thank you. Now, it's time for a poll of the day, and today we're asking, do you back the return of ASBOs to tackle antisocial behaviour? We'll bring you the live results throughout the day, so make sure you stay tuned, and the final results will be announced later in Martin Daubney's show.
Yeah, and if you want to take part, then you can go to gbnews.com/poll.
Still to come, Rafael Nadal hangs up his tennis shoes, and tennis stars are paying tribute to the star's career. That's next.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. There are a number of road closures again this morning because of snow in the Cairngorms, the Peak District and parts of the southwest of England. In Murray, the A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul. From Cheshire into Derbyshire, the A537 Cat and Fiddle Road is closed each way between Macclesfield and Buxton. The A54 is closed each way between the Cat and Fiddle Road and the A523 at the Bosley Crossroads. And in Dorset, the A352 is impassable between Middlemarsh and Minton Magna. Now, train services are suspended between Exeter Central and both Barnstable and Oakhampton because of a points failure and also because of snow. Trains also not running between Exeter, St David's and Axminster, and there's no service between Truro and Falmouth Docks after a points problem earlier. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment. This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory. Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark meets and My Take at 10. Democracy is a funny old thing. And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it. Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it. That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, Will, please bring us up to date. Or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 7:36. Paul Coyte's here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Just looking at some promo pictures we had done.
All right. Do you look lovely?
I look fabulous. Ellie doesn't like what she looks like. But
I look like the back end of a bus.
Oh, come on.
I do.
You look
actually, that's where the
fantastic.
picture's going, so there's nothing to worry about.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
Well.
Looks very, very good.
Anyway, right now.
What have you got for us?
Las Vegas Grand Prix. I'm not even going to mention Elvis again before the fact that you don't like Elvis.
He's mad.
Thanks not for mentioning that.
I don't know, it's just upset me, but I'm going to move on. Second practice has happened in Vegas. They're one at 2:30. This is our time. 2:30, another one at 6. And the way things are going is that Lewis Hamilton had the disastrous Brazilian Grand Prix. And after that, he was saying, well, that's it. You know, I feel like I'm just going to walk away from Mercedes because he's heading to Ferrari, having a go at the car. He's fastest. He's actually come fastest in Vegas. And it's really a 1, 2, 3 for British so far. I mean, these are just the practices. So Lewis Hamilton first, Lando Norris was second fastest, George Russell third fastest for Mercedes, Max Verstappen 17th, which is interesting for Red Bull because it could be his 4th world title. He could win it in Vegas, but the way things are going, maybe not this time. Now, he leads the... Now, tell me if I've thrown you on this, because this starts getting complicated. He leads the Drivers' Championship by 62 points.
Yeah.
There's 86 still to play for. There's 3 Grand Prix left. Not Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Grand Prix left. Lando Norris needs to take at least 3 points out of Verstappen's lead in Vegas to stay in the race, literally in the race for the Drivers' Championship. So he must finish above Max Verstappen by at least 1 position. I'm throwing myself now.
No.
By at least 1 position in Vegas, although Max Verstappen, if he finishes at worst 6th in each of the next 3 races, he will be crowned champion.
Yeah. So as long as he beats Norris this time, he's done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
way to do it.
That's the simple way of doing it. Yeah. By the way, I worked that out on an abacus.
Ah, very good.
I don't even know what that is.
Very good.
That's what I did. So there we are. There's so much sport going on. The Premier League is back, which is good news.
Yeah.
For all of us that are just tired of the international football stuff. Rugby, Wales are playing South Africa. We spoke a lot about that yesterday, didn't we? The fact that, it's just been so bad for Wales. 30-11 on the trot they've won. Or lost, I should say. They've lost. And Warren Gatland, sticky wicket for him at the moment with Wales. Steve Borthwick, the England coach, he is also not having a good time. 13 wins from 26 matches. They keep losing leads, but they're playing Japan this weekend, and that's on Sunday, which is going to be at Twickenham, although it's called the Allianz now, but it's Twickenham essentially. And Eddie Jones, of course, the former coach of England, is coaching Japan. So, and also so much stuff that's been said about Eddie Jones and different players. People saying that Eddie Jones, that he was a nasty piece of work. It's going to be interesting to see Eddie Jones return to Twickenham. So he's obviously really going to want to win this. And England desperately need to win. They need to get a win under their belt because they haven't won yet. So there you go. So that's how we're looking.
Should we talk about Nadal?
Oh, yeah. Have you seen this? I'm going to play it for you if you haven't.
No, I haven't seen it.
Well, you're not going to get a chance to by the sound of things, so we're going to... do we have it? I think we have
Have we got it?
Have we...
Yes,
it's not Nadal.
Yeah.
I was told no, but the answer's yes. So Nadal, do you remember they did the tribute video for Andy Murray when he retired? And they thought he retired in Australia, but didn't. The proper video with some great names on and some pretty bad acting by David Beckham. I wasn't sure about that. But have a look at this anyway. Little Rafa Nadal tribute when he retired.
Congratulations on the most incredible career. It was such a privilege to play with you.
Gosh, you just have meant so much in my career. You've inspired me to have so many wins, to keep going, to fight, to get better, to improve, to basically play like you.
Thanks for everything, Rafa. Enjoy retirement, mate.
Thank you very much and good luck, my friend.
Got the Beckham.
Oh, that's so nice.
What did Beckham do?
He kind of went, hi, and it just...
Is it bad?
Well, I'll play it for you at 8. Yeah. And then you can see what you think.
That was
it's
nice,
lovely,
though.
David, but I always think when he tries to act or read something, it just doesn't...
Yeah.
Is that wrong of me? I don't mean that.
That was nice, though, from the other tennis stars.
I thought so, too. Yeah, it was
you never
lovely.
see the warmth between them. So that's
No,
nice.
at least Andy Murray was really warm and
He was,
kind.
and Nadal is very well-liked. Oh,
He called him Rafa, a little nickname.
Yeah.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Well done, Rafa. Enjoy.
Oh, now, come on.
No, you're
Not
being mean
Elvis
now.
and now Andy Murray, my two heroes together. Really?
He's just been a bit grumpy this morning.
Yeah, honestly.
That was a lovely
Which one
video.
of the Williams sisters was that?
That was Serena, wasn't it?
Was that Serena?
It was Serena. Yes, it was Serena.
You've inspired me to all the winning that I've done.
Yes.
Because I win everything.
Yes. You got time for birthdays, or you want to say
Yeah,
those?
no, go on, do it.
Come on then. Talking of tennis, 2 birthdays today. Tennis icons. First one, please. So you just tell me who... There
it's Boris.
There we are. When he behaved himself.
Boris Becker.
69.
69 for Boris Becker. He was 17 when he won the first Wimbledon title.
I think he's 56.
Ellie, would you like to try again? Because I can't accept 69 for Boris Becker.
60...
No.
70... 50...
50...
59.
57 is the answer.
Oh, come on. I was 56 and you gave her another
Well, you were
shot.
still closest.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to argue with you about anything. Let one more, a real icon of tennis. That was when she was Billie Jean Moffitt. Back in the early days, became Billie Jean King.
I've
We've had the Billie Jean King Cup as well. Have you met Billie
Come on,
Jean?
then. You know how old she is. Go on.
I met her in Downing Street, of all places.
And?
Number
What did you
10.
say?
We just had a little chit-chat. She was lovely.
Was she? What did you say? What was your opening salvo with Billie Jean King? What did you say?
What's your name?
Yeah.
No.
Hey, Stephen, and
She
you
was-
are...
She was...
And
really,
you do...
She was really, really lovely. I'm going to say 72.
72 for Billie Jean King.
75.
No, I'm not going to accept either of those. Higher, please, both of you. One more go.
80. Is she?
80, yes. What are you going to go for?
78.
81.
Is she?
Billie Jean
I won.
King is 81 years old today.
I wouldn't have believed it.
Well, she's looking good, to
But
be fair.
Good on her. She's absolutely...
If you're going to meet one of them, a Boris or Billie Jean,
I think you'd have to go for Billie Jean.
Yeah, it was one of those things where you couldn't ask for autographs or pictures, though, which is a real shame.
You're not, no?
It's very casual, you hanging out with Billie Jean.
I know, I really like that.
I love the way you just wove that in there, yeah.
And did she, when she was time for her to move on, because didn't the Queen used to do something where she would just go, and then move on? What about Billie Jean? And how long were you with her for? I
was with her for at least 2 minutes.
That's good enough.
I think that's lovely.
It's practically a grand slam.
Yeah, that's like 2 points in a game of
tennis. Yeah. All right, Paul, get out.
Thanks,
See you later.
Boyty. Do stay with us. We're going to be going through the papers next.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about.
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe.
Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight, every night from 11 p.m.
This is about Pulchronomics, which is the often hidden, often controversial economics of beauty. And there's this guy, he's called, here it says Anil Hammermesh, but I think they've missed out the D, so I'm guessing he's Daniel rather than Anil, which he might be, though. He might be, or he might be anal for an Anil Hammermesh, maybe. That's his unfortunate name. But basically, he's looked into how ugliness affects people, and it turns out he's discovered that ugly people are less attractive. And that affects them for the rest of their life. Now, where this does get interesting, it is worrying because, of course, this is going to lead to the ugly rights movement, ugly pride march down some dirty back street. And but I remember hearing about this at the time. People born in the UK between March 3rd and March 9th, 1958, were part of this massive survey that was done, which was finding about what would happen to them later in life, and it went through a number of different factors. But I didn't know this. The teachers were also asked to rate their pupils on attractiveness.
Yeah, it's a bit pedo-y.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know whether that would wash now, but it was bone structure and where they're symmetrical, that kind of thing.
You should probably really have a committee of at least half a dozen teachers. Take a sort of standardised view across the... You might get a different point of view from the biology teacher, from the Latin master.
You suggest this to a school, and then we can see if we get it going.
It's interesting, though. I don't know whether you're aware of this, but generally speaking, it is understood within sort of psychological, psychometrics and so on, that IQ is the thing that most closely maps your outcomes, generally speaking. But the idea of beauty is the one that isn't discussed. And there is genuinely a theory that this is actually the great determinant of your life chances.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's at the Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Time for the papers this morning at 7:47 with former Labour advisor Matthew Torbett and the author and journalist Emma Wolfe. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning.
Let's have a look at The Guardian. Should we be looking at Ukraine, Vladimir Putin? Russia has the right to strike back at the West, he says.
It's very concerning. I was hoping to see Christmas this year. If this is... My logic and my feeling, or whether it's a hope, is... This is muscle flexing, this is tit for tat. He obviously has to keep his own people high in confidence with him. The war has been long and taxing. And I just think he knows he's got 5 weeks until Trump comes in, and it appears it has entered the public lexicon that there is going to be maybe a deal that could be struck. Volodymyr Zelensky's language around the war has changed, and he's become slightly more conciliatory. So I'm trying not to worry, and I would encourage people not to worry, and I think this is merely, a war of words to sort of say we're still here.
I think it is concerning. However, if he launched an intercontinental ballistic missile at the UK, I mean, whether we'd get anything off in time, I don't know. However, the United States would blow Moscow off the face of the earth.
No, it's over.
So it's not going to do it.
No, well, that would be my logic. You have to then worry about somebody's mental faculties to go, do you know what? I'm going to go out on a high as the man that's destroyed the world, and I hope his logic isn't that, basically. But, yeah, I hope it all should be fine for now. And who knows, Donald Trump may save the day.
He might do.
Well, he says he's going to solve it in 24 hours, Emma.
Yeah, exactly. And we take everything that Donald Trump says with a slight pinch of salt. No, but I agree with Matthew. I think this is Putin once again, flexing his muscles. He's aware of the, the change in regime, and he wants to show the world that he's tougher than everybody else. And we've been at this stage before with him. We've been at this crisis point, and each time it's a fresh crisis. And of course, he's ramped things up. But what's the solution?
Emma, can we stay with you, please, and look at Essex Police dropping their investigation into Alison Pearson?
Yeah, this was on Remembrance Sunday. She got a call from the police. She got a doorstep from a couple of police officers from Essex Police. And there followed this kind of bizarre investigation. She wasn't told which tweet they were actually investigating, what had been complained about, but there were these sort of strange allegations. Was it a non-crime hate incident? Was it not? She just wasn't told exactly what the police were looking into.
She was told there was a victim.
She was told there was a victim.
Not an accuser, a victim of what she'd done.
Yeah.
Which I think is very dangerous language, actually.
It is dangerous language. They claim, the Essex Police claim they wore a body camera, they have a full record of what happened. But, I mean, in the last few weeks, Boris Johnson, a huge range of people within the media and just generally have been talking about this appalling kind of attack on freedom of speech, but also, for me, just the huge waste of police resourcing and time and, money. And now, of course, there's going to be a review of the investigation. So they have dropped, as you say, they've dropped the investigation.
More money.
So now they'll do a review of the investigation. And, if you read what Alison has been saying about this, it was a frightening time. I know it's easy to dismiss, Telegraph journalists, any journalist, it's not a big deal. It actually is a big deal. To be caught up in the centre of this kind of thing is a big deal. She has talked about feeling suicidal at times. And, people saying to Keir Starmer, we need to get the police back to policing the streets, not policing tweets.
This non-crime hate incident needs to be looked at, doesn't it? I mean, the front page of The Sun this morning includes, these incidents that have been logged by police, include a German woman who's upset about being likened to a Rottweiler and somebody being unhappy about someone's haircut.
And what about 9-year-old children in the playground calling each other a retard, saying someone smells of fish, which is not nice language and which as parents and teachers should be telling them, don't hurt other people's feelings. But do we want the police getting involved in things, incidents like that, getting involved in or cautioning children? Really there needs to be a reset in what the police do and don't do. And I wonder whether they should even be involved in social media and trawling through people's tweets. But, that's another
What do you make of it, Matthew, if you were still advising?
I think the law needs looking at. I spoke with Ellie and Andrew about this on Monday, and I think the problem is because when the law was set in the early noughties, we would have laughed at things like Little Britain that we may cringe at now and go, actually, maybe that's not quite appropriate. And I think society over time changes its mind, as we know, about what is or isn't offensive. And for something to be found, to be charged with something like whether it be non-crime hate incident, which is a mouthful in itself, it has to be grossly offensive. I think there's clearly a difference between incitement and just generally being a bit unpleasant, and maybe we should all be a little bit better with the language that we use against people, but that isn't a crime. And I think because it's all about opinions when it comes to what is grossly offensive and what somebody finds maybe funny or whatever else, it leaves a very big grey area. The story on the front of The Sun did make me laugh, though, because I did speak to someone back home who did cut hair, and he did say that he did give someone a very bad haircut once for their political views. I thought that would be a bit of a myth, but apparently it was a thing this guy was really doing in his head, and he thought, I'm just going to really snip into his crown now, and he won't notice, and he'll go away in his crown down will look terrible. And I thought, I can't believe people actually do that.
No,
That's the thing.
I tell you what, the power of being a barber. That's watch what you say in front of the barber.
I give my 4-year-old appalling haircuts because he refuses to go to the barber, but that's not for his political views. I try my best. It's really hard. Cutting hair is hard.
Matthew, I'll tell you what I find grossly offensive. That is paying £5 million for a banana and a piece of gaffer tape.
God, well, yeah. I am not normally a fan of modern art. As someone who is...
You surprised me. You surprised me with your northern accent. All that rubbish.
No, I think, things like Banksy can be quite clever and all the rest of it. I think for someone that is terrible at art and his talent in that area has not changed since he was 5 years old, I much prefer seeing these very sort of... You go to a gallery, you see these old traditional paintings that look like they could be photographs. Yeah. They're so good. I think it's like magic to me that somebody that can do that. This sort of thing, I just think there's far too much money in the world and too many people have got far too much money, apparently. I don't really get it.
Have we got a picture of the banana in our last 20 seconds? There you go. So this is what is worth £5 million. It's not a joke. That was auctioned for £5 million.
It's tiny.
It's a banana sellotaped to a wall.
We're just in the wrong industry, apparently.
Well,
we just don't get it.
Good to see you both. We'll see you a little bit later.
Thank you.
Let's have a look at the weather.
A nice bright morning will generate a lovely warm day, right through to the evening. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very cold start to the day today, but it's a fine day for many with some bright spells before Storm Bert brings some impactful weather through the weekend. So for many, slippery surfaces out there first thing, particularly where we've seen some sleet and snow over the last couple of days. Otherwise, actually, it's a break from the wintry weather with plenty of sunny spells, particularly towards the south and the east. Still feeling cold through the afternoon with highs of 5 to 7 Celsius, but perhaps not quite as cold as it did on Thursday. And we've still got some wintry showers moving in, particularly for northern and western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, northwest England and Wales. At lower levels, rain and sleet mostly, but over the hills, the snow will continue to accumulate for northern and western Scotland, where we end the day with temperatures of -1 to +2 Celsius. Northern Ireland, likewise, clear spells as we go into the evening, so temperatures falling away, but a thin layer of cloud is starting to move in from the Atlantic. Showers continuing for northwest England as well as parts of Wales, but plenty of clear spells across the rest of England and Wales. And under those clear skies, temperatures are going to fall widely and quickly overnight, with well below freezing temperatures expected across parts of Scotland and eastern England through the early hours of Saturday. Meanwhile, Storm Bert sends its band of rain in. That's going to bring some very wet weather to western parts by dawn and some hill snow for Northern Ireland and parts of Wales. That hill snow will be temporary. It's soon replaced by rain. What's not temporary is the snow expected across northern England and Scotland on Saturday. 2 to 4 hours of heavy snow, 5 centimetres at lower levels, 10 centimetres for the Vale of York, up to 40 centimetres over the hills, particularly for central Scotland, where there is an amber warning. Later on, that turns back to rain. Very wet weather for Wales and the southwest, also very mild and windy for all of us.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning. A number of roads are closed again this morning because of snow in the Cairngorms. The A939 is closed each way between Cockbridge and Tomintoul, and in the Peak District, the A537 Cat and Fiddle Road is closed each way between Macclesfield and Buxton, and the A54 is closed each way between the Cat and Fiddle Road and Bosley. On the M5 in the West Midlands, there's a lane closed southbound between junctions 1 and 2 from West Bromwich to the Albury and Dudley turn, causing delays. In Powys, the A483 is blocked each way for an investigation between Llanvista and Llanbran Vinith. In Hampshire, the A27 is blocked westbound by an accident at Titchfield, causing queues heading away from Portsmouth towards Southampton. And train services are suspended between Exeter Central and both Barnstaple and Oakhampton because of a points failure and because of snow. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
This, good luck.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. Sir Keir Starmer backs the International Criminal Court after it issues an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu.
That says the Israeli leader slams the charges from the International Court as anti-Semitic.
Well, Conservatives and indeed American allies, President Biden condemning the move as outrageous.
Vladimir Putin issues a chilling threat after UK-supplied weapons are used in Russia as he increases strikes on Ukraine. We'll be asking this morning, do we need to do more to support Ukraine?
Well, just as the winter weather sets in, Ofgem have announced an increase to the energy price cap from January in a cost of living blow to Brits, especially pensioners, of course, as the winter fuel payment is pulled. So what impact is it going to have?
Cracking down on antisocial behaviour. The government resurrects ASBOs in order to enhance police powers.
Well, this was a Labour election promise, but can respect orders really make any difference in communities where all respect seems to have disappeared?
And 1 week out, cost of living is the big issue as Ireland heads to the polls. Could there be a surprise winner?
Well, Ireland will most certainly return a coalition government. It is a PR system here, so it'll be all about the transfers.
Winter weather set to lash the UK over the weekend, causing travel chaos. What can we expect?
Coming up in the weather forecast, I'll have the latest on Storm Bert, expected to bring disruptive wind, rain and in some places snow this weekend.
And the sport, Lewis Hamilton, fastest in practice for the Las Vegas Grand Prix this morning. Pep finally announces his 2-year contract at Manchester City. And could the World Darts Championship actually move from Ali Pali?
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello,
Oh, good.
and this is GB News Breakfast. I've just been reading all of the views that have come through.
Yes, lots of views. I'm just Googling Jonathan Bailey.
Who we love.
I'm not familiar with him, I have to say. I don't
Have you seen
recognise him either.
Bridgerton?
No.
He was the lead in Bridgerton 2 series ago.
Oh, well.
Very good actor. And we're talking about this because Lynn has been in touch. Good morning, Lynn. Saying Jonathan Bailey, our wonderful actor from Bridgerton, does he not deserve a mention as he's in the cast of Wicked? Come on, please give him a mention. He's a massive success story, and he is.
Oh, good on him.
He's a great actor.
Just to say, not anyone I'm familiar with. I've got a bit. Do you know Jonathan Bailey?
No, and I'm trying to think, what would he be in Wicked?
You'd know his face.
Who's he playing Wicked then?
I don't... To be honest, I don't even know.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Who's he playing the Tin Man?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a Tin Man
There's
in
no
it.
Tin
I
Man
don't
in
know.
Wicked.
Lynn, let us know what he's
Is there?
playing.
I don't know.
Actually, no, you've got to think of it. It's sort of Wizard of Oz, so maybe
It's
there is
Wizard
Tim
of
Man.
Oz.
It's the prequel to Wizard of Oz.
The prequel of the
It's how you get the
Wizard.
good witch
right.
and the bad witch. And
Is that Glenda, Glazenda,
I didn't know there was. There isn't
Glinda.
Glinda.
There isn't a good witch in the Wizard of Oz.
There is.
Is there?
Yes.
Is there?
Yes.
You'll be more familiar with this because you've got children. You can scrub us up.
And also
on the
because
facts.
I'm older and remember when The Wizard of Oz first came out in 1939.
Yeah.
No, there is a good witch. Yeah.
I don't remember.
And there's definitely a Wicked Witch of the West.
I don't
There
remember.
is.
Yeah, she was an incredible woman, the original actress. She was incredible.
Yeah.
And she did loads of stuff afterwards on kids' TV shows in America. And she was phenomenal.
You know the Tin Man? Who
Yeah.
was it that played the Tin Man? I can't remember his name. He got ill
Asbestos.
originally because of what was
zoo.
painted on the
Yeah, a lot of them suffered with illnesses.
Asbestosis and all that.
Yeah,
it's
from
awful.
being near asbestos, yeah.
R. Hughes, morning R, says, you will be very disappointed with Gladiator 2. Very dull, not a patch on the original. The lead actor was not convincing at all.
Paul Mescal.
So you're very excited about Paul Mescal because he's all got himself ripped.
Well, I was saying, actually, it doesn't do it for me at all. I'd much rather watch Wicked. But I'm sure it will do lots of things for lots of people.
Well, I haven't seen the first one.
I haven't seen the first one either.
so-
I've seen the bits of it. So is Mescal, does he do the voice? Does he like
No, but it's
the
different. I
slightly
don't think
Australian sort of...
He's not
deep,
playing the same
you know?
character.
Yeah, no, but
I don't think.
No, it's not.
No.
Yeah, but isn't he supposed to be a relation? Isn't he like
Isn't
a son
that a prequel
or a
as
grandson?
well? I think that's a prequel.
Is it a prequel?
I think it's a sequel.
Or maybe
a
it's a
prequel.
sequel.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, actually, is it him
Maybe it's a
as...
sequel.
As a younger version of Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
I bet that he would have to do the voice.
Maybe he would, yeah.
God, I'm so confused.
Martin.
This never happened with Barry Norman, did it? Never used to happen with Barry Norman. No.
Martin's been in touch saying, bring back ASBOs is just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. Nobody takes notice of them. People just put two fingers up to them if they receive one.
It's a respect order, though. This year, we're going to get the latest from
new-
Mark White on this one.
New title, isn't it? Yeah.
But no, people didn't take any notice of ASBOs, did they?
Did they work the first time round?
No.
Sure they did.
Would you get an ASBO actually for sticking two fingers up at the ASBO? Would you get an ASBO anyway? For
Oh,
doing
you
that?
get another ASBO.
So that is an
Another
ASBO, yeah, double ASBO.
But people used to wear them as a badge of honour, didn't they?
Yes, I know.
An ASBO.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
And a hoodie.
And a hoodie.
Right.
And Diane says she's with you. Never liked Elvis, plus never liked the Beatles.
Oh, come on.
Think I'm in the minority, Diane, please.
Yeah, I quite like the Beatles. But, there you
Let's
go.
hope for you yet, then.
Quite like the Beatles.
It's all right, before my time. I'm not as
Before
old-
my time.
I'm not as old- not as old as you. That's like a knife to your heart.
It really is.
Right, anyway, look, Paul, we'll see you later on. Let's crack on with our main news this morning, which is about the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, who could be arrested if he comes to Britain. That's after Sir Keir Starmer backed the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for him and his former Defence Minister.
Well, the ICC also issued an arrest warrant for Hamas leader Mohammed Diaf, who Israel claims was killed in July.
Well, the ICC believes the three men bear criminal responsibility for crimes during the war between Israel and Hamas.
It's the first time a leader of a democracy and a Western-aligned state have been charged by the court.
Well, President Biden has slammed that decision as outrageous. Benjamin Netanyahu says it's anti-Semitic.
Well, let's cross live now to Westminster, where our political correspondent Olivia Utley joins us this morning. Good to see you, Olivia. And are we surprised by this ruling, well, these arrest warrants from the ICC, or are we more surprised by Sir Keir Starmer backing them?
I don't think we're that surprised by the ruling from the ICC. This is exactly the sort of decision that the ICC has made in the past, and it's one of the reasons why America and Israel haven't actually signed up to the ICC's jurisdiction. It can be seen as a pretty controversial body. In terms of Keir Starmer's decision, well, he didn't really have much of a choice but to say that he would respect this decision if it was ratified by a UK court. But he is certainly tiptoeing around the issue, and it is very, very difficult for him indeed. Why do I say he didn't have a choice? Well, the UK is one of the major signatories to the ICC, and actually one of the chief prosecutors for the ICC who has issued this arrest warrant is a British man. So it'd be really awkward for Keir Starmer just to say outright that he would be prepared to flout this decision. Keir Starmer, though, in saying that he would agree to this decision, that he would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he comes to the UK, if this court order is ratified by a UK court, tried to also make clear in the same sentence that he is still supportive of Israel's right to defend itself. And he drew a very distinct line between Hamas, a terrorist organisation, and Israel, the Israeli government, which is democratically elected. Whether that's going to sort of quell the anger and upset among, quite a lot of British Jews and, of course, the Conservatives in Parliament and outside it, remains to be seen. campaign. At the moment, Priti Patel, the shadow foreign secretary, has said that the ICC's verdict is provocative, and she says that Keir Starmer should actually be condemning it. The other issue, of course, for Starmer is that this sets him up for a fight with the Trump government. There is almost no doubt at all that Donald Trump's government, that America, as I say, does not respect the jurisdiction of the ICC. Donald Trump's government will reject this decision. And how will that leave relationships between Britain and the US? It was already tense between Starmer and Trump during the American election. Trump criticised Labour for sending activists over to campaign for Kamala Harris. This suggests that there might be even more of a deterioration in that relationship.
OK, Olivia Utley there for us at Westminster. Thank you very much indeed.
Now, persistent antisocial behaviour could land you up to 2 years in jail, with police getting greater powers, apparently, as Labour is planning to reinstate at least a form of ASBOs.
Yes, the new respect orders, as they're being called, are expected to be introduced as part of the government's crime and policing bill next year, in what the government calls a bid to return law and order.
Let's talk to our Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Did ASBOs work the first time round, Mark?
Well, they didn't really know, because they were seen as a badge of honour by these little scroats that were being given ASBOs on a regular basis. But this time around, it seems to have been a bit more thought out in terms of what the respect orders would entail. So respect orders, if they are not adhered to, then would become a criminal offence. They're not just antisocial behaviour orders as such. They will have the power to ban people from certain areas, town centres, from drinking in parkland. Some of the more welcome aspects, I think, for many communities across the country that are blighted by antisocial behaviour will be the ability of police to seize vehicles without a warning that could help clamp down on the use of these motorbikes in parkland, e-scooters on pavements, cars, hundreds of which often meet in these street racing venues that can really cause some absolute disruption to people's everyday lives. So it seems that the government wants to fulfil that election promise to start policing our streets and not our tweets, to use a slogan, even if Essex Police didn't quite get the memo in their investigation into Alison Pearson. But that seems to be the direction of travel. And I think that most people should welcome this, because even if the respect order itself might have some flaws and doesn't necessarily work on everyone, what it does signal is a direction of travel from this government that wants police to get back to their core business of policing the streets and going after what has often been seen as low-level offending, but offending that happens very regularly in communities. It can really have a devastating impact on those communities.
OK, Mark White there for us. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, it ties us into our poll of the day today. We're asking, do you back the return of ASBOs to tackle antisocial behaviour? We'll bring the results live throughout the day. Final result in Martin's show this afternoon.
And as always, for all the latest polls, news and how to vote, just go to gbnews.com/poll.
Now, just 1 week until this has gone very quickly. It's the way to do it. 1 week until the Republic of Ireland heads to the polls, with the Irish Taoiseach Simon Harris hoping to capitalise on a buoyant economy.
Well, many have said it's the current government's election to lose, as the opposition leader, Mary Lou McDonald, battles a serious decline in support after a damaging series of party scandals.
Well, let's get the latest from our Ireland reporter, Doogie Beattie. He's in Dundalk for us this morning. Hi, Doogie.
Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Ali. And yes, really a fascinating election in Ireland, because, of course, Ireland operates a PR system, proportional representation, and therefore it's all about the management of your vote. You vote 1 to 5 or 1 to 3, depending on which constituency you're in. And the constitution here says that there must be round about 1 TD for every 30,000 people. But because Ireland has expanded its population, it means that this Dáil will have an additional 14 seats, 174 in total. And really we have no data as to where those seats will go. And of course, the economy here is in pretty good shape. Simon Harris of Fine Gael, the outgoing Taoiseach, and hopes to return as the Taoiseach, will partner up, no doubt, with Fianna Fáil, the Micheál Martin's party, and they have really set the coalition. It always throws up a coalition government. Now, that means that they will have to look at partners somewhere else. That also means that they need at least 83 seats to form a government. And as local polls are going now, really we're looking they're saying they need 1 or 2 seats to make that coalition happen. I don't think that'll be the case. I really am looking at this thinking they will need 8 seats, because although Sinn Féin polled the last time out in 2020, the largest polling, they didn't run enough candidates and therefore had a smaller vote, or had smaller members returned. So now what we're looking at is the independents, and of course there is a big problem in the Republic of Ireland over immigration of mostly young undocumented men, and those independents are expected to return about 34 seats in this current election. If that happens, what will be the cost of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael? What will they have to guarantee to those that they may have to go into a coalition government with? It's all to play for here next Friday, and of course it's very important to Ireland that they have a stable government, because they have so many American companies here, and if Donald Trump decides to put in tariffs, they could well go back to America.
Yeah, really good points there, Dougie. Thank you very much indeed.
It's 15 minutes past 8. Let's have a look at some of the other key stories heading into the newsroom this morning.
British lawyer Simone White has become the 5th tourist to die of suspected alcohol poisoning in Laos. An Australian, American and 2 Danes have also died in recent days following a spate of suspected poisonings in the popular backpacker destination. 2 other women are reportedly also in hospital. The US State Department said local authorities were investigating the case.
Energy bills are going to rise again in January. Ofgem's 2nd consecutive winter-time increase to the price cap, which I guess doesn't come as a huge surprise. Bills are going up by 1.2%. So it's not a massive amount, £21 per family. However, when people are already pushed, and pensioners particularly losing the winter fuel allowance, it is the very last thing people need.
Matt Gaetz, President-elect Trump's controversial pick for Attorney General, has withdrawn his name from consideration. It follows days of debate over whether to release a report on alleged sexual misconduct and drug use. Posting on X, the 42-year-old said that the controversy over his potential nomination was unfairly becoming a distraction to the work of the incoming Trump administration. You're right, now you're getting distracted by reading what's in front
Sorry,
of you.
I was, yes. And do you know what? I've never seen I'm a Celebrity. But sometimes you
It's quite good.
Sometimes you get a bit pulled in. Colleen Rooney, if you're not familiar, apparently was boasting on the show that Wayne Rooney writes her love poems.
That's quite nice.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I can't imagine what they're like.
Can
you?
Apparently they're good.
Hey, what?
Apparently they're good.
Really?
What should we say?
Right, well, there you go. So he writes them on little hotel pads when he's staying in hotels.
He's clearly a softie, that's nice.
So it's softie, well, that's nice. Bit of romance. Good for you, Colleen.
I think it's nice. Good for you, Colleen.
It's very odd, though, because, I mean, the Sun have been very clever, though sneaky, because they're doing all this stuff on Colleen, but then they've hired Rebecca Vardy, who she did all the Wagatha Christie stuff with,
yes,
as a columnist. And all she does is just saying... is slag off Colleen, really.
Yes, every single day.
Yes.
See.
She said, Colleen is the bore of the camp. As I said in my first column, Colleen is coming across as dull in the jungle. Nothing much seems to have changed.
Oh, it's not nice. I don't like it.
No, it's not nice.
But it sells papers, doesn't it?
I mean, she's getting her own back. She's having to pay Colleen Rooney lots and lots of money,
But
isn't
it's
she?
Becky Vardy who dragged her to court.
Yeah.
It's her that brought the whole case.
Well, she's got to raise some money because she's got to pay her legal fees.
True.
One way of doing it.
I wonder what her husband, Jamie Vardy, is making of all of this.
I don't know.
More of a circus.
If you go in the jungle, I'll write a column and slag you off.
That would be hilarious.
Look at the state of her this morning. She's not done her hair. She's not got her lashes on this morning.
That would actually be hilarious.
I would. If you're watching at the Sun, I'll do something really. I'll be really controversial about her. Look at the state of that.
Slag me off every day.
I would do.
Sell lots of papers.
She's so dull. She's so
the bore of the camp.
Be great.
As Rebecca Vardy would say. Anyway, it's not going to be like the jungle here. It's actually going to be freezing cold.
Like
Aidan McGibbon, yeah, like the Arctic, has got all of the details for you.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very cold start to the day today, but it's a fine day for many with some bright spells before Storm Bert brings some impactful weather through the weekend. So for many, yeah, slippery surfaces out there first thing, particularly where we've seen some sleet and snow over the last couple of days. Otherwise, actually, it's a break from the wintry weather with plenty of sunny spells, particularly towards the south and the east. Still feeling cold through the afternoon with highs of 5 to 7 Celsius, but perhaps not quite as cold as it did on Thursday. And we've still got some wintry showers moving in, particularly for northern and western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, northwest England and Wales. At lower levels, rain and sleet mostly, but over the hills, the snow will continue to accumulate for northern and western Scotland, where we end the day with temperatures of -1 to +2 Celsius. Northern Ireland, likewise, clear spells as we go into the evening, so temperatures falling away, but a thin layer of cloud is starting to move in from the Atlantic. Showers continuing for northwest England as well as parts of Wales, but plenty of clear spells across the rest of England and Wales. And under those clear skies, temperatures are going to fall widely and quickly overnight, with well below freezing temperatures expected across parts of Scotland and eastern England through the early hours of Saturday. Meanwhile, Storm Bert sends its band of rain in. That's going to bring some very wet weather to western parts by dawn and some hill snow for Northern Ireland and parts of Wales. That hill snow will be temporary. It's soon replaced by rain. What's not temporary is the snow expected across northern England and Scotland on Saturday. 2 to 4 hours of heavy snow, 5 centimetres at lower levels, 10 centimetres for the Vale of York, up to 40 centimetres over the hills, particularly for central Scotland, where there is an amber warning. Later on, that turns back to rain. Very wet weather for Wales and the southwest, also very mild and windy for all of us.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Now, it's time for the Great British Giveaway. Your final day to see how you could win. Do you fancy doing that? Yeah. See how you could win Christmas on us. Well, Angela from Wigan was one of our recent winners. She's going to have a fabulous Christmas this year.
Yeah, she's rolling in cash.
Yes, and this is what she had to say after she won all of that cash.
Hi, I'm Angela from Wigan and I won £30,000 with the Great British Giveaway. I could not believe it. I thought it was a joke. Winning the money enabled me to treat my children, which I've not been able to do for a while. And yeah, it's given us peace of mind now at night. I'd say to people who want to enter or are wondering whether to enter, to do it. It's one text, and if I can win, anyone can win, because I don't win anything. This is the first ever prize I've ever won, and it happens to people like me.
Well, it does, Angela.
Yeah, and it also could happen to a person like you. You could win everything you need for Christmas, lots of cash, lots of goodies, vouchers as well. It's all up for grabs in our festive Great British Giveaway. Here are all the details that you need.
She's just sung the theme tune to that all the way through.
I was just thinking maybe we could get my vocals on the next giveaway.
No, we want people to tune in,
and you could pay me £1 million.
£1 million.
I did it a few octaves higher than
That's just very special.
Original soundtrack.
Very special, almost operatic.
It was quite operatic and vibrato. Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's a very polite way of putting it.
Yes, it's a lot for this time of the morning, isn't it?
It's too much.
I do apologise.
It's too much. Anyway, I'm going to go and get some headphones, and we're back with all the latest for you in just a moment.
Yeah.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Oedipus is back in the theatre, as Stefan Kyriazis can tell me. Stefan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
A good Oedipus or a bad one?
It's a great one. It's divided the critics a little bit. So some would prefer more kind of truth to the original text, perhaps a little bit more sense of the kind of epic Greek tragedy. I mean, this is Sophocles. It's 2,500 years old, and it's still one of the best, literally, no pun, the mother of all tragedies. It's just absolutely staggering. You like that?
I do. Where and with whom?
So this one is on at the Wyndham Theatre until January the 4th. The exciting thing is Mark Strong as Oedipus, Leslie Manville as his wife, Jocasta, and it's been reframed, you'll see from the pictures, as a modern political thriller. So he is waiting for election results, general election results, you will remember. There's a clock ticking down in the background. They're at Campaign HQ. They're waiting for it to click down to zero. We increasingly know that when it hits zero, terrible truths are coming. So it's operating on two levels. He's obsessed with the truth. He says very famously, I am me. He's so proud of his sense of who he is. And of course, that's all going to be horrendously ripped away. Mark Strong is wonderful. And then when we get to the very end and the horrific final reveal, I forgot. I was so gripped in the political thriller and everything else, I actually swore under my breath in the theatre, Michael, because I just had been so engrossed, and they play very well at other mysteries going on and a family drama, that when my penny dropped, I literally was devastated, and they do it. Even the critics that haven't loved this reframing admit, the two of them, and especially at the end, it's searingly agonising. It's glorious.
2,500 years later,
yeah,
it's still absolutely visceral.
Yeah, absolutely.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 8:27. Good morning to you. Vladimir Putin has threatened to strike the UK with a new intercontinental ballistic missile after first using the weapon to hit Ukraine.
Well, this comes following reports that Ukraine has launched British Storm Shadow missiles into Russia. Well, earlier we spoke to the MP at Ukraine's parliament, Kira Rudik.
If Ukraine gets Patriot missile systems, then if Ukraine gets tanks, ammunition, if we get fighter jets, there will be Third World War. That was his statements. And you see, he is not able to go ahead on those threats, because the only thing that Russia is good at is terrorizing peaceful cities with the missiles, and they are not even good in defending their own country.
Well, the British Armed Forces reportedly being set to lose around £500 million worth of military equipment in a cost-cutting exercise. We're asking this morning, should we stop sending money and weapons to Ukraine?
Well, let's talk to Jorge Martin from the Revolutionary Communist Party and Army veteran and research fellow at the York Institute, Robert Clark. Good to see you both this morning. Jorge, what's your take on this?
Well, I think that all military experts agree that the war in Ukraine is lost for the West, and that the use of these Storm Shadow missiles into Russian territory will not change that. So I think that the permission to use them is completely irresponsible. It's just a provocation, and which might lead to Putin retaliating. I think this is completely scandalous. It's not been the subject of any public debate in Britain. We have not decided that we are going to go to a military conflict directly with Russia, and it's a complete waste of money. Each one of these missiles costs between £1 and £2 million. And at the same time, we are cutting the winter fuel allowance to old age pensioners. I think this is a complete scandal, and it shows the warmongering character of this government of Starmer.
Robert, what do you make of this?
I mean, I broadly agree with the first point that, that was just made regarding the lack of an overall Western strategy. Like, look, the idea of sending Storm Shadows into Ukraine militarily has great merit, and it has had for the last 2 or 3 years. The problem of this is this should have been done, like I said, months or years ago. And that really highlights the lack of the Western leadership in providing an actual overall strategy to ensure that Ukraine wins. But when we talk about Western provocation and warmongering by the Labour government, this is actually merely a continuation of British policy over the last 3 years. It's one of the refreshing things in Westminster is the crossbench and cross-party support between Conservatives and Labour that we must support Ukraine as much as we can. The fallacy in that is we're not supporting Ukraine as much as we can, and we could be supporting them a lot more. We should be. And just a really quick note on the cost of these missiles. They do cost up to £2 million each, but we're talking pennies on the pound with regards to the military aid budget that we have for Ukraine as a proportion of the British defence budget and what we get back strategically for helping to fund Ukraine's defence against Russia's illegal war of occupation.
I mean, that's the basic argument to this, Jorge, isn't it? You seem to be saying, well, this is nothing to do with us. We just shouldn't be getting involved. But do we sit back and watch Russia involve a sovereign invade a sovereign nation and do nothing?
It seems to me that this is a bit hypocritical when we are actually supporting Israel militarily. And Israel has just invaded a sovereign country called Lebanon and has bombed several other sovereign countries. So it seems that what applies in one case doesn't apply to the other. It's a clear case of double standards.
Well, hold on a minute. The argument there, and whatever side of that argument you're on, you have to say it's what Israel has done, whether you agree with it or not, has been in response to attacks in Israel.
Israel has invaded the sovereign country of Lebanon on its own accord, and so that is completely scandalous. And in fact, the leadership of Israel has now just been charged with war crimes in the International Criminal Court, and we still support that country. I think it's completely scandalous, and I think, unlike the other guest in this program, I think it is a complete scandal that Starmer is following the same imperialist policy as the previous Tory government.
Robert?
Well, I mean, look, it's a complete false dichotomy to try and compare this to Israel's campaign of self-defense against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. Just one on the ICC claims. It's been mentioned, so I'm just going to address this very briefly for the sake of fairness and interest to the viewers. This is so misunderstood in terms of Israel's sort of rights to self-defense, and the claims of genocide and war crimes specifically alludes to the idea that Israel is starving the Gazan population.
Precisely.
Hundreds of aid trucks come into
crime.
Gaza, which are looted and attacked by Hamas mobs. So if Hamas are so interested in alleviating starvation against the Palestinian population, then they would do well to actually ensure those aid convoys aren't attacked by their own fighters in the first place. But just to get back onto Ukraine, something that my fellow guest doesn't really appreciate is something that we live in a democracy. Labour routinely like to highlight the fact they've won in an absolute landslide victory.
The fact that we are now in stage, we
voted for Labour. I'm sorry, let me finish my point. We voted for Labour, come what may, and Labour campaigned on a manifesto pledge to continue supporting Ukraine. Now, if you don't like that, then don't vote for Labour, which incidentally neither did I.
Don't worry.
Well,
I didn't vote for Labour. Luckily, in my constituency, there was a revolutionary candidate in Bowen and Stratford. But the point is that no one has discussed, it's not been discussed in Parliament, it's not been even announced publicly by the Prime Minister that we're now in a state of open conflict with Russia.
Well, we're not, because we're not in a state of open conflict with Russia.
No, can I just say, everyone knew, Putin had said, if these missiles, which need British personnel to be operated, are used in Russian territory, it will be considered that we are in a state of conflict with Russia. You may not like that. I don't particularly like that. I'm not a friend of Putin, but he said that. And he said now that British military installations are a legitimate target for Russian strikes. So I think that this should at least be the subject of public debate. I'm completely against, and I'm not sure that the British public would be in favor. Furthermore, in Ukraine itself, a majority of the population are now in favor of talks, and they are even prepared to concede territory. They have no other alternative in order to achieve
That's simply
peace.
not true. That's simply not true.
It's according to a Gallup poll. Gallup is not a communist or pro-Russian agency.
And
but
we've
according
seen
to a
this
Gallup
year just
poll,
how unreliable public
according
pollings
to
are.
a Gallup,
that
can you
doesn't
let
mean
me
it's
finish
facts.
my point?
all right.
Can you let me finish my point?
Just very briefly.
A Gallup poll 2 days ago, which you can check online, said that 52% of the Ukrainians want a quick end to the war through negotiations. And this use of ballistic missiles and cruise missiles into Russian territory is sabotaging the possibility of that happening, is making it more difficult for the war to end through negotiations, which is how it will end.
OK, look, there we must leave it, I'm afraid. Jorge Martin, Robert Clark, thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you. And let us know what you think at home, gbnews.com/your say.
All right, sport with Paul in a couple of minutes.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Murray, the A939 is closed between Cockbridge and Tomintoul because of snow. There are delays of up to an hour and a half to Stena Line sailings between Cairnryan and Belfast because of a technical problem. On the M6 in Lancashire, there's a lane closed northbound for emergency repairs between junctions 28 and 29 towards the M65, causing delays. In the Peak District, the A537 Cat and Fiddle roads closed each way between Macclesfield and Buxton, and the A54 is closed each way between the Cat and Fiddle Road and Bosley because of snow. In Powys, the A483 is blocked by an accident between Llanbista and Llanbadon-Fynnith, causing delays. In Hampshire, the A27 is partly blocked westbound by an accident at Titchfield, causing queues heading away from Portsmouth towards Southampton, and train services are suspended between Exeter Central and both Barnstaple and Oakhampton because of a points failure and because of snow.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Nightmare commute? Kick it up a gear with GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+ and on the GB News app. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with GB News Radio. We are the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's sports time. Paul's here.
Viva Las Vegas.
Yes.
Viva it indeed.
Viva Las Vegas. Last year was a bit of a disaster. I'm going to have to clear my throat.
Go.
Arsenal. There we go.
Oh, very good.
Last year was a bit of a disaster for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz damaged his drain on a car cover, or was it the other way round? I believe it was a car on the drain cover. Fans waited for hours and then that to be moved off because you had stewards that were actually out of hours, so they didn't get to see anything. Anyway, this year the tickets are a little cheaper, unless you spend the £35,000 on the deluxe VIP experience, Stephen.
No.
The paddock pass, the working areas, well, you get to walk in and see how people work. How about that?
Try to do that all my life.
Ramsey's garage.
Right.
Ramsey's Garage, which is Gordon Ramsay will cook for you there.
Oh, that sounds good.
And there's an ice rink
now.
in the. It was £35,000.
Yeah, I bet the food isn't free when you go into the
I
garage.
bet it isn't. Yeah, I bet it isn't at Ramsey's Garage. We've got Boys to Men, who we have now called
Men to
Old Men. We'll be singing the national anthem. So anyway, they've had the practice runs. There's been 2 practice runs this morning. Lewis Hamilton had a terrible time in Brazil. Has really turned things around, and he's been fastest on both practice runs. So whether that's actually going to go for when we actually get qualifying and actually get to the race itself, well, we hope so for Lewis, because he had a bad time with Mercedes. He's fastest. Lando Norris second, George Russell third. All Brits in the top 3, so a very good start.
Oh, well, that's good for us.
And so it's just all very exciting. And you know what I really like is, I don't know if you've seen it, but around the edge of the track, they've got like cards, so you get the card suits, so it just goes with the whole thing about Las Vegas. So you get a heart, and then a spade and a diamond.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
Club. So yeah, it just looks very nice.
Oh, lovely.
Out of everything, that's the thing that I like.
That's the thing that you like.
Yeah,
Says it all.
But anyway, it's been going on through the night.
As you know, as a keen runner myself,
yes.
I am very interested in marathons.
Yeah. Have you done one?
No.
But are you thinking about doing one?
No.
OK, fine. But you like watching them?
But you're the youngest person ever to run the London Marathon.
Well, did I ever mention that to you?
Once or twice. Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I lied about my age, and I was 17.
Oh.
And the oldest woman in the race beat me by 45 minutes.
Wow.
She probably died of old age about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Great World Race.
You're not 37, darling.
39. The Great World Race, 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days.
Oh,
it ended yesterday. What would
what would compel you?
I don't know. I really don't know. We've done a few of these things where we see them running around the North Pole and you think, why would you do this?
Why?
It's just going to be painful. Daniel Kilgore from the USA won. Have we got some stuff from this? I think we probably see them in action. So I'll go through as we see a little action there from all the 7 continents. 81-year-old Dan, that's David Kilgore, the one that won it. 81-year-old Dan Little did the whole thing. So they started at Wolf's Fang in Antarctica, then to Cape Town, which covers Africa, Perth for Australasia, Istanbul they did twice. Do you know why?
Why?
Oh, it's Asia and Europe.
Correct. So they did Europe for Istanbul and Asia for Istanbul, Cartagena in South America, and ended up in Miami, which is where they are there. So it's the temperature contrasts from cold to hot. It's a bit like being in here and walking outside.
Yeah.
Sleep deprivation, sleeping on trains, and sleeping on planes.
travel.
Very difficult. Very
Very much do as well.
Yeah, that's the trains and things, isn't it? Yeah.
Planes, trains, automobiles, all very
I think that would be as
Good.
hard as the running.
Yeah, well, good on them, especially that 81-year-old. So
Yeah, good for him.
Puts us all to shame.
Yeah, it does, really.
Paul, I would say it's been a delight, but...
It really hasn't again?
No, it hasn't. We'll try harder next week.
We'll try harder.
Thanks, Coity. Do stay with us. We're going to be going through the papers next.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive?
Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
3 incredible young people from Essex are planning to become the youngest people ever to row, not sail, row, across the Atlantic Ocean.
It's about for 3,000 miles.
It is.
Give or take.
Almost exactly that, Sam.
The 3 flying fish, so-called, consists of Anna, Dunk, Harry, Alan and Rowan Daly, who are preparing to row that 3,000 miles across the Atlantic. It would be the second largest ocean in the world. And the trio are aiming to do that challenge in support of the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Well, I'm very pleased to say that Anna and Harry from the Flying Fish join us now. Very good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
I think the two of you are bonkers, but brilliant. Absolutely incredible what you're doing to raise money for Teenage Cancer Trust. Why did you want to do this?
So our third person, Rowan, his friend actually died. So when he was in secondary school, I believe, one of his peers passed away, and Teenage Cancer Trust supported them and their family a lot. So it was definitely the right charity. Yeah, it was.
Absolutely awful. So you wanted to do something to raise money for teenage cancer. Why rowing?
So my dad did it in 2021.
The trip, the Atlantic trip?
Yeah, he rowed it as a pair. Where we live in Essex, they actually build the boats there. So we used to cycle round there past the boatyard, and he got interested and actually did it. He was the first year after COVID. And one night, we all met in the Air Cadets, so one night after Air Cadets, Rowan actually dropped me off home and the boat was outside. We were obviously waiting to get it sold. And I think he was asking some questions, and we stood there at my porch and went, Rowan said, I reckon we could do that. And I was like, yeah, I reckon we could. And then we brought Harry on board, and that's kind of how it all came together.
If people are watching and they want to support you, do you have a
Yeah, we've got
GoFundMe page
social
yet?
media platforms at the Free Flying Fish. That's Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, and our GoFundMe links in all of the bios on there.
Fantastic.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark Meets and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
8:47, time for the papers with former Labour advisor Matthew Torbett and the author and journalist Emma Wolfe. Morning to you both.
Morning.
We talk
Morning,
about
you.
water. Thames water's been particularly bad, hasn't it? But the Mirror's got an interesting story.
Yeah, so this is Chris Weston, the fat cat boss. Of course, they're calling him a fat cat. The fat cat boss of Thames Water. Now, Ofwat, the watchdog, the water regulator, had said they'd stopped companies, the big companies, they'd stopped them paying these eye-watering bonuses to the fat cat bosses from customer money, basically, from customer funds. And it now turns out that Chris Weston was paid £200,000 for his first couple of months in the job, first 3 months in the job. And so the water industry doesn't seem to be following the guidelines from Ofwat at all. Thames Water has declined to comment. But, you know, the fact is we've seen leaks, we've seen sewage spills, appalling kind of water management from
Thames
these
Water
big
says
companies.
it wants to put its fees up by 80% or something, doesn't it? So it's
They tried arguing earlier in the year. They wanted to put it up by 54%. This story epitomises why I think people don't trust institutions, they don't trust politicians, and stuff like this gets me so mad because it just feels like people are laughing at us. We've got increased water rates, as you've just said. We've got them polluting our rivers and seas and whatever else. He's defended this actually back in July, which I think is very bold, and said it's deserved due to his excellent performance running Thames Water. Thames Water is likely to go bankrupt in Christmas, and what will happen, as it always does, is the debt will be socialised and we all have to bail them out.
The money is not going back into the company.
Exactly.
Last year, they paid out £1 billion, the industry as a whole paid out £1 billion in dividends to shareholders. So they can say as much as they like, and we've covered these stories for years about the sewage spills, about raw sewage in our waterways, about leaks, about one's water... And then we see these soaring water bills.
Well, he's worth the money, apparently. He's worth the money. He says you have to attract the right talent, which includes a proper remuneration package. Yeah, exactly. This is a guy who's got a PhD in quantitative finance, has ran this place into the ground over the last year. If that was me, I'd like to think I'd be humble enough to go, I'm not taking a penny of bonuses until we turn this ship around. And what's going to happen is he's going to totally sail off into the sun with a nice 2.2... Yes, in the ship.
I totally misheard you there.
Well, it could be either, judging by the state of the waterways. But yeah, no, he's going to sail off into the sunset with a £2.2 million package, whilst the rest of us are feeling the wrath of whatever the Thames Water have been doing.
Well, at least he can pay his water rates.
Well, quite, yeah. Yeah, it's looking that way, yeah.
Matthew, let's stay with you, shall we, and look at youth unemployment in the Times.
Yeah, no, it's... This is something I can't quite put my finger on. People, may feel it's people that being work shy and whatever else.
So it's the highest rate for 10 years.
Yes, and I think there's maybe a reason in that, in the sense of there are trends in that we are no longer having front-facing roles. More things are becoming automated, and the sort of roles that people may do as young people that I did working in hospitality or customer service just aren't there as much as they once were. I think there's an overhang of COVID and the fact that we've had record amount of businesses go up the wall, therefore there's potentially less jobs to go around. And I think there's a question of whether young people see university as a viable option anymore. I think the idea was you would go to uni, get a degree, have a career, live a nice life. And I keep always coming back to these things with the social contract is broken, in that people can't get on in life, even if you play by the rules, get a job, you can't buy a house and all these other things. Labour seems to think that they can force people back into work in some senses, particularly for those that are claiming disability benefits, whether that be mental health or otherwise, in saying, well, if you're a young person and you're not in employment, training or education, we'll just take your benefits from you, which I'm never sure solves it, basically, because what are we sending people on to do? Is there going to be a career at the end of this? So I don't know what the answer is, to be honest with you, but it's not great.
Yeah, I think there are some other aspects as well. I would say that the addiction to screens is making people really, really unable, young people really unable to go into an office, workplace, to attend interviews, to talk to other people, to interact with other people. I think the increase in kind of everything is mental health, everything is if you have anxiety or depression, all these normal things that we all struggled with as teenagers or just growing up and having a bad day, now you can be signed off. So I'm not saying people are work shy, but there are many, many reasons why people are on benefits. In the past, it doesn't matter whether you go to uni at 16 or at 18 or at 21, you would have gone out and got a job, something.
I don't know if the innocence has gone out of society in a way. It's ridiculous, and as if that's like harking back to a bygone time. I think of my sister, who's 10 years younger than me and grown up sort of quite differently from me. Has terrible anxiety. I sometimes think she's been a bit wet, but that's who I am. And, she works and all the rest of it, she's not signed up. She she's a grafter. But she struggles in a way that I never did. And I don't know if it was the constant information overload that comes with the screen time, that everything is awful, media outlets putting negativity out constantly, and therefore as a young teenage girl you're terrified of the world, basically. So is it any wonder that young people are constantly anxious?
And I sort of think they think they have to be anxious to it. So everyone's got anxiety, I must have anxiety.
Everything is a label. Everything is a label. But before little kids were told they were badly behaved, now they've got ADHD. And of course there are some genuine diagnoses, but actually, it hasn't increased. It's just that we now label and diagnose people with a sort of, with these conditions.
ADHD is a really interesting one, because when I was at school, ADHD was the naughty kids.
It was called bad behaviour.
Kids like me off estates and whatever else. Now it's weirdly... And listen, there is genuine diagnosis.
Parents
it is. A lot of middle-class
ADHD
people coming
diagnosis.
out. I just think it's people can't focus because screens have rotted our brains. That's what it is. I cannot,
concentration.
I think there might be an element of that. I know people with ADHD, and it it can be a really
Debilitating,
serious
yeah.
issue.
Yeah,
but
I
it's-
did say there
just
are
can't-
genuine
Can't get the
cases.
medication for it now. I tell you what, after all that, we've got 30 seconds to concentrate and have a glass of wine. Should we?
Quick test. Do you know what the mousse on a wine is?
The froth.
Mousse?
It's the froth. Do you
Oh,
know
very
what
good.
maceration is?
What?
Maceration.
Air bubble.
It's the process of soaking the grape skins in juice to extract the colour and the tannins. Do you know what the cuvée is? Cuvée is a wine made of different blends of different varieties of grapes.
Didn't know that.
You should know that. You drink lots of cuvée.
I do drink lots of cuvées, but I wasn't familiar with the terminology.
What about the terroir?
The what?
You know where that is sort of where it comes from.
No,
It's a
I don't.
combination of
Like the
soil.
terrain, yes.
Yeah, the soil, the climate, and the
I must
sunlight that
admit,
gives wine.
I was
great
always more bothered about what was put in front of me rather than the process in which it
The
was made, to be
terminology.
totally honest with you. If you'd give me a glass of Malbec, I'd know what it was. I don't need to know the rest
yum.
of it.
Anyway, it turns out most of us are.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very cold start to the day today, but it's a fine day for many with some bright spells before Storm Bert brings some impactful weather through the weekend. So for many, yeah, slippery surfaces out there first thing, particularly where we've seen some sleet and snow over the last couple of days. Otherwise, actually, it's a break from the wintry weather with plenty of sunny spells, particularly towards the south and the east. Still feeling cold through the afternoon with highs of 5 to 7 Celsius, but perhaps not quite as cold as it did on Thursday. And we've still got some wintry showers moving in, particularly for northern and western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, northwest England and Wales. At lower levels, rain and sleet mostly, but over the hills, the snow will continue to accumulate for northern and western Scotland, where we end the day with temperatures of -1 to +2 Celsius. Northern Ireland, likewise, clear spells as we go into the evening, so temperatures falling away, but a thin layer of cloud is starting to move in from the Atlantic. Showers continuing for northwest England as well as parts of Wales, but plenty of clear spells across the rest of England and Wales. And under those clear skies, temperatures are going to fall widely and quickly overnight, with well below freezing temperatures expected across parts of Scotland and eastern England through the early hours of Saturday. Meanwhile, Storm Bert sends its band of rain in. That's going to bring some very wet weather to western parts by dawn and some hill snow for Northern Ireland and parts of Wales. That hill snow will be temporary. It's soon replaced by rain. What's not temporary is the snow expected across Northern England and Scotland on Saturday. 2 to 4 hours of heavy snow, 5 centimetres at lower levels, 10 centimetres for the Vale of York, up to 40 centimetres over the hills, particularly for central Scotland, where there is an amber warning. Later on, that turns back to rain. Very wet weather for Wales and the southwest, also very mild and windy for all of us.
A nice bright morning.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M74 in Glasgow, there's a lane closed northbound where someone's broken down between junctions 2A and 2 towards Rutherglen, causing queues. There are delays of up to an hour and a half to Stena Line sailings between Cairnryan and Belfast because of a technical problem. The M62 on Merseyside is blocked eastbound by an accident between junctions 4 and 5 from the Rocket to Huyton, causing queues. In Conway, the A55 North Wales Expressway is partly blocked eastbound by an accident between junctions 23 and 23A from Llanthillas to Abergele, causing queues. In Powys, the A483 is blocked each way by an accident between Llanbista and Llanbedran Fynnith. In the M40 in Oxfordshire, the southbound entry slip road's partly blocked by a breakdown at junction 9 at Bicester, causing delays, and train services are suspended between Exeter Central and both Barnstaple and Oakhampton because of a points failure. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
This is the
If you want your news to be straight talking,
this is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good morning. Sir Keir Starmer backs the International Criminal Court after it issues an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, that's as the Israeli leader slams the charges from the International Court as anti-Semitic.
Well, Conservatives here and President Biden have condemned the ICC's move as outrageous.
The Prime Minister is walking on thin ice, trying to stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, while also claiming to ratify the ICC's judgment.
Vladimir Putin issues a chilling threat after UK-supplied weapons are used inside Russia as he increases strikes on Ukraine. We'll be asking this morning, do we need to do more to support Ukraine?
Well, as the winter weather sets in, Ofgem have helpfully announced an increase to the energy price cap from January. So as the Prime Minister pulls the winter fuel payment, what is the impact really going to be on pensioners?
And at an extra £1.75 a month, how is the new Ofgem price cap affecting people in some of the poorest parts of the country?
Cracking down on antisocial behaviour, the government resurrects ASBOs in order to enhance police powers.
And it's just 1 week out. Cost of living is the big issue as Ireland heads to the polls to pick a new government. Could there be a surprise winner?
Well, with the biggest government in the state's history, with 174 seats and a PR election, those transfer of votes will be crucial.
Set to lash the UK over the weekend, causing travel chaos. What can we expect?
Coming up in the weather forecast, I'll have the latest on Storm Bert, expected to bring disruptive wind, rain and in some places snow this weekend.
Just got 9 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
I'm Ellie Costello and this is GB News Breakfast.
We were talking about Ukraine. Should we be doing more? Are we doing too much for Ukraine? We had a debate on that earlier on. An interesting mix of views coming through. Diana says, Ukraine are fighting a war for us in the West. As for themselves, I don't think we're giving enough.
Margaret says, Russia is the aggressor, not Ukraine. We must help to defend it and take back the territory that Russia stole.
Linda says, stop sending missiles. Risking World War III to save one country is crazy and irresponsible.
Chris says, we're already at war with Russia, China and North Korea. Give Ukraine proper support and let's get on with it.
And Kevin says, so Iraq and North Korea can send drones and ammunition and soldiers to Russia. I mean, we've seen about 10,000 North Korean soldiers there getting involved in this now, yeah. But we can't help Ukraine, he says. So, I mean, the conclusion from that is most people saying we need to do more to end this. What is going to be interesting in all of this is what Trump does.
Yes.
When
he says it's going to be solved in one day.
One day, and there is an argument to say that the aggression he's showing now, sending more missiles into Ukraine and the threats he's making against the likes of the United Kingdom, are sort of getting away with it while he can before Trump gets into power, where clearly he feels there is more of a threat. It's going to be interesting, though, on that one to see exactly what happens come January the 20th.
Yeah, and we did hear from a commentator earlier on that said Ukrainians largely now wanting to sit down and negotiate the end of the war, whereas it looks as though Putin is just set to ramp things up further with North Korean troops and these intermediate-range missiles that were used last night in Ukraine.
Anyway, we shall see how that one plays out, won't we, as always. At 4 minutes past 9, some breaking news for you this morning. And it's tragic news, I'm afraid. A sixth tourist, an Australian, Holly Bowles, has died following suspected alcohol poisoning in Laos. It follows the death of the British lawyer, Simone White, whose death was confirmed overnight.
Yeah, just 28 years old, Simone White. 2 other women reportedly also in hospital. The US State Department said local authorities were investigating the case.
I mean, they're talking about methanol being in the drinks.
Yeah, so reports that there were free vodka shots that were being handed out at this backpackers' hostel that these women were staying at. That's what reports locally are suggesting.
And so methanol, although it is alcohol, is obviously deadly. And so 6 dead now and 2 still in hospital. Absolutely
Awful.
tragic.
And even just the tiniest amount of methanol can make you go blind, can't it? So even for the people who haven't died from this, they could be blind or at least very seriously injured. Yeah.
And there's Simone White on the front of a lot of the papers this morning.
Beautiful woman.
If you're watching on the TV, I mean, just stunning, beautiful, as you say. 28 years old, a lawyer, doing well for herself.
On holiday.
And then this happens. Absolutely tragic.
Yeah, can't even imagine what her family are going through just before Christmas as well. It's just awful.
More on that throughout the course of the morning, but we're going to kick off with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who could, believe it or not, be arrested if he comes to Britain now after the Prime Minister backed the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for him and his former Defence Minister.
Well, the ICC also issued an arrest warrant for Hamas leader Mohammed Diaf, who Israel claims was killed in July.
Well, the ICC believes the 3 men, and so that one who's actually dead already, but then they can't, they're not assuming that he's dead, bear criminal responsibility for crimes during that war, the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas.
Well, it's the first time that a leader of a democracy and a Western-aligned state have been charged by the court.
Joe Biden slammed the decision as outrageous. Benjamin Netanyahu himself says it's anti-Semitic.
Well, let's cross live now to Westminster, where our political correspondent Olivia Utley joins us this morning. Good to see you, Olivia. Are we surprised by this move by the ICC, or are we more surprised by Sir Keir Starmer backing it?
I don't think it's a particularly surprising move from the ICC. The ICC has made controversial decisions like this before, and that's one of the reasons why America and Israel actually aren't signed up to its jurisdiction. Neither America nor Israel recognise the ICC. As for Keir Starmer saying that he would respect the ICC's verdict and potentially arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he came to the UK, well, perhaps that is a little bit more surprising. On the one hand, Starmer didn't really have much of a choice. Britain is a key signatory to the ICC, and actually one of the chief prosecutors on the ICC who's issued this arrest warrant is British. So it'd be really awkward if Keir Starmer just out of hand said, no, we'll be ignoring that judgment. On the other hand, it is very controversial, and so far Keir Starmer has stood very firmly behind Israel. In fact, he's made quite a lot of enemies in his own party by standing firmly behind Israel. In his statement where he said that he would respect that ICC judgment if it was ratified by a UK court, he tried to sort of mollify Israel by saying that he still stands behind Israel's right to defend itself, and he drew a distinct line between Hamas, a terrorist organisation, and the Israeli government, which is obviously a democratically elected party. But I don't think that will go far enough to placate some of Keir Starmer's critics, namely the Conservatives. Shadow Foreign Secretary Priti Patel has already said that Keir Starmer has made the wrong decision here, and that this decision from the ICC is provocative and Keir Starmer should ignore it. But also, and perhaps this is more worrying for Keir Starmer, this is going to really annoy the Americans. Joe Biden has already said that he doesn't respect this judgment. There is no way that Donald Trump is going to respect this judgment. And I think it could make an already strained relationship between the incoming US president and the UK Prime Minister even more difficult and awkward. They're now on pretty different sides. They're sort of sliding away from each other on this all-important foreign policy issue.
Thanks very much indeed. I don't know, the Conservatives said they were going to fight this when they knew this was sort of coming a few months ago. They said they'd fight it. I don't know if the Prime Minister really should be saying, well, we don't really support this. We've got the power. If key members of the ICC, maybe we've got the power to do that. just seems very odd, and you just wonder what impact it could have, actually, on any sort of peace settlement here, which is going to have to come from negotiation, because it's always how it happens. Is it going to damage it? I don't know, it seems very odd.
Yeah, it does. Well, let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/you'll say. Now, households can expect energy bills to rise again from January.
It's Ofgem's second consecutive wintertime increase of the price cap. Bills set to rise by 1%. That's a £21 increase, so it is modest, but it then puts that sort of expected amount that most households will pay at £1,738.
And with 10 million pensioners missing out on winter fuel payments now, let's hear what people most affected by all of this really think. Let's speak to GB News East Midlands reporter Will Hollis, who joins us live from outside a warm hub for vulnerable adults in Sutton in Ashfield. Good to see you this morning, Will. And we've just been hearing there about bills set to rise again in January. What is this going to mean for people who are already struggling without their winter fuel allowance?
Good morning. Yes, 1% might not sound like a lot to some people, but it is an extra £21 in a year. It's about £1.75 a month. Ofgem is the independent regulator of energy prices, so they evaluate the market and raise prices by as much as is necessary for energy companies in the UK to be able to function as they need to. It's important to remember that while this might not seem like a massive rise right now, it does come off the back of a 10% rise 3 months ago when Ofgem last updated its prices before winter. Ellie, I stood in this spot 2 years ago to report when Ofgem raised the prices massively so that most people were paying around £2,000 for an average household. At the moment, it's going to be around £1,738 a year that the average household will be paying. But what's different this time to 2 years ago is back then when Russia had first invaded Ukraine and gas and oil prices went up dramatically, the government stepped in, offering every single person in the UK £400 towards their household energy bills. But now many people, pensioners, 10 million of them over the age of 65, have lost their £300 winter fuel payment. The government is encouraging people that are of pension age to try and maintain their winter fuel payment by applying for the pension credit. But so many of the people that I speak to here in Ashfield or other parts of the country reporting this same story have said that they have lost their pension, their winter fuel allowance. Let's just give you a quote from Tim Jarvis. He's the Director General of Markets at Ofgem, the energy regulator. He said that while today's change means the cap has remained relatively stable, only going up by 1%, we understand that the cost of energy remains a challenge for far too many households. Age UK says that for older people who were hoping to see prices come down at a difficult time, they will be bitterly disappointed. It's important to remember that lots of old people, they do go out to try and keep warm. They go to pubs and they also go to warm hubs, where I'll be a little bit later today to find out how they might be coping when they hear their prices are going up again.
OK. Will, thanks very much indeed.
Get yourself a hot tea, I think, Will. You look freezing.
I tell you what gets my goat with this is the winter fuel allowance. So it's, you know, it's gone for the vast majority of pensioners.
10 million.
But then the government says, well, actually, there's a load of you who could be eligible for it, you just don't realise it yet. And there's been adverts in a lot of the newspapers and apply for this. And, well, how much do the adverts cost? How much does it cost for processing for all these new applications that supposedly the government says they want to have in to make sure people are getting what they deserve? Wouldn't it have just been cheaper to just keep paying the winter fuel? It's going to cost them more, or nearly as much at least, by the time they've done all the advertising and all the processing and all the rest of it, for people to do this. It's just crackers.
Yeah, there's also a reliance on pensioners to be computer literate if they want to be applying for help and to see if they are. I mean, unless you're walking into, a Citizens Advice Bureau.
Plus, you know, it's to say you've got to be eligible for pension credits, Well, we also know people are proud and they don't want to be going and saying, I want to claim these extra benefits.
That's the other thing as well. Well, let us know if it's affecting you this winter and how you're feeling about the Ofgem price cap up again this January. gbnews.com/yoursay.
Right. Time for the Great British Giveaway, and it is the final day today to see how you could win Christmas honours.
Yeah, lots of cash, festive goodies delivered just in time for the celebrations. Here are all of the details that you need.
There's just 30.
Yes, best of luck to you. Now, still to come, 1 week out from the Irish election, Dougie Beattie is going to give us a glimpse of who might win. That's next.
Why go out on a Friday night when Friday night comes straight to your home?
Talking about.
Join me and my A-team of top pundits. Chemistry tonight is electric. As we tackle the big stories of the day with wit, insight and fearless energy.
Man of the people.
It's all vibe. Just a filing cabinet on wheels with a tie on.
So, order in Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, every Friday at 8, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Phil Kersey is bringing a new flavour to the Michelin-starred restaurant Pied à Terre as he becomes its new executive head chef. Customers can expect a menu that showcases modern British cooking accompanied by classical French roots, which uses hyper-seasonal ingredients. What are hyper-seasonal ingredients? That's an interesting phrase.
It's more about just reacting to the seasonality of everything. We like to change the menu all the time. So basically, I surround myself with the best suppliers, and they tell me what's amazing at the moment, and then we try and celebrate that in the restaurant in many different forms, using taste, texture, and technique, and just try and celebrate something as humble as a broccoli stem or a cauliflower, using absolutely everything, and making sure we've got an ever-changing menu. So letting the seasons dictate, so it's never boring and we never get menu fatigue.
OK, your career has taken you around the world a bit.
Yeah.
For example, you were in the United States. What did you learn there?
So, well, every chef I've worked for, it's about to take something from. A lot of chefs will go places and just stay in one establishment and get to the top, and then that's it. I've kind of then went to another chef to learn completely different things. That's the brilliant thing, to be able to surround myself with such amazing chefs throughout my career, because I've learned different things from all of them. And you find out 5 different ways to do something, and you find the way that you like it the best. And it's also about understanding it takes a while to understand how the restaurant is, going through the history of all these amazing chefs that have been before me, the style, because it needs to make sense. You wouldn't have a dish that should be at the Fat Duck and then a dish that should be at the Waterside, you know. You need to make sure that it all makes sense and it goes together with the decor, the service, the wine serving. And so we want to be the restaurant, not that does a little bit of everything, we want to be the best French restaurant in London, you know.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's 19 minutes past 9, and it's just 1 week to go until the Republic of Ireland heads to the polls, with the Taoiseach Simon Harris hoping to capitalise, he thinks, on a buoyant economy.
Well, let's get all the details now with Dougie Beattie. Morning to you, Dougie.
Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Ali, and welcome to the border town of Dundalk in the Republic of Ireland. And it's places like here that this election may well be decided. There is 43 constituencies, 174 seats up for grabs. That's up 14 from the last time because of population growth. And of course, this is a PR election, so effectively one voter gets to vote 3 times, although that vote doesn't transfer at a full vote each time. And that's where this election really will be fascinating, because those transfers, the likes of Sinn Féin the last time got the biggest majority of the vote but didn't get the amount of seats in the House because they didn't run enough candidates. And it's all about that vote management. The polls here at the moment are saying that Fianna Fáil, Micheál Martin's party, will come back as the largest party with 45 seats, Simon Harris's party, Fianna Fáil, with 44. But if you divide that 174 by 2 to get a majority, the magical number is 88, and they will be short by 3 seats. I personally think that will go to 8 seats. But that means they would have to do a deal with someone else, a three-way coalition to actually get a government in the Republic of Ireland. And it's very important to us in the UK because, of course, we have a land border with the Republic of Ireland, and a serious amount of trade goes across the Irish Sea into Britain every single year. So we won't really see the shape of a government here probably until Sunday next week.
Okay, Dougie Beattie, thank you very much indeed.
Well, time for our poll of the day, and today we're asking, do you back the return of ASBOs to tackle antisocial behaviour? Well, they're not calling them ASBOs this time, they're calling them respect orders.
Respect orders.
Which obviously makes all the difference. Anyway, do you back the result, bringing that back? 82% of you say yes. 18% if you say no. They didn't really work last time round.
They didn't really work, but I was doing some research this morning. Most people were supportive of ASBOs and would like to see more of them given out, even though they had a really high breach rate.
Right.
So they didn't work very well, but people liked them.
Oh, well, there you go. Anyway, final results in Martin's show later. If you want to take part and have your say, then you can do so. gbnews.com/poll.
Now, Britain's newsroom coming up very shortly at 9:30. Nana and Cameron are here to tell us all about it. Morning, you two.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, of course, we can't not talk about Yvette Cooper and Benjamin Netanyahu. She would refuse to rule out whether he'd be arrested if he came to the UK, and she kind of didn't think it was her job.
Yeah.
She said, well, it's not down to me. I'm thinking, what do you do then?
And then in the last half an hour, we've heard from the Irish Prime Minister, Simon Harris, who said Ireland would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. So it's an interesting predicament for the British government to be in this morning. Also discussing the costs of the King's coronation as well, £72 million from the Treasury. Not much, I think.
Not very much.
Well, I suppose a lot of people would argue that the amount it brings to the UK economy perhaps trumps the amounts that the British taxpayer are having to pay.
And we've got that, the new docu-series or whatever it is, the thing with Prince Harry, all about polo. They're launching the trailer, so we'll be looking at that. I shall have a bit of a laugh at that one.
Yes.
Does anyone play polo? Have you ever played polo?
I've never played polo, no.
I was once invited to a polo match.
Lovely.
Who is?
How was it?
I can't remember.
He's coming out with all the stories
I
today.
ended up being sat next to...
Who?
Who's that one who used to go out with Jude Law?
Miller.
Yeah.
Something Miller.
Sienna Miller.
Sienna Miller.
I was sat next to Sienna Miller.
What was she like?
Oh, wow.
Did she say anything?
Oh, well, I don't know. I didn't chat to her. I was just sat
You
there.
should have chatted away to her.
It's not I felt very uncomfortable because that is not my happy surroundings.
Did you? Oh, no. I'm sure you fitted in very well.
Like toffs drinking champagne.
It's not your happy place.
It's not my happy place.
Lovely.
I'd rather be in Pizza Hut or something.
Oh, yeah. No, well, they don't exist anymore, do they?
I don't know.
Well, they do. You frequent them still.
And can I just say, I love you two coordinating your green tie and green dress, and we've coordinated a little bit with the yellow, Nana and I,
And
on
also
my
with
tie.
you guys,
I
we
think it's
cross
nice when there's
nicely.
a bit of coordination on something.
Absolutely.
It's nice. Yeah, this is at the request of Mr. Stephen Dixon, who said, can you wear your Kermit dress? So here I am in the...
Who knows what I'll be wearing tomorrow, because I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. You have to ask Anne.
Anne never tells me. Right, you two, we'll see you in a bit. Thanks for your company this morning. Here's weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hi there and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very cold start to the day today, but it's a fine day for many with some bright spells before Storm Bert brings some impactful weather through the weekend. So for many, yeah, slippery surfaces out there first thing, particularly where we've seen some sleet and snow over the last couple of days. Otherwise, actually, it's a break from the wintry weather with plenty of sunny spells, particularly towards the south and the east. Still feeling cold through the afternoon with highs of 5 to 7 Celsius, but perhaps not quite as cold as it did on Thursday. And we've still got some wintry showers moving in, particularly for northern and western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, northwest England and Wales. At lower levels, rain and sleet mostly, but over the hills the snow will continue to accumulate for northern and western Scotland, where we end the day with temperatures of -1 to +2 Celsius. Northern Ireland, likewise, clear spells as we go into the evening, so temperatures falling away, but a thin layer of cloud is starting to move in from the Atlantic. Showers continuing for northwest England as well as parts of Wales, but plenty of clear spells across the rest of England and Wales. And under those clear skies, temperatures are going to fall widely and quickly overnight, with well below freezing temperatures expected across parts of Scotland and eastern England through the early hours of Saturday. Meanwhile, Storm Bert sends its band of rain in. That's going to bring some very wet weather to western parts by dawn and some hill snow for Northern Ireland and parts of Wales. That hill snow will be temporary. It's soon replaced by rain. What's not temporary is the snow expected across northern England and Scotland on Saturday. 2 to 4 hours of heavy snow, 5 centimetres at lower levels, 10 centimetres for the Vale of York, up to 40 centimetres over the hills, particularly for central Scotland, where there is an amber warning. Later on, that turns back to rain. Very wet weather for Wales and the southwest, also very mild and windy for all of us.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M74 in Glasgow, there's a lane closed northbound where someone's broken down between junctions 2A and 2 from Cumberslang to Rutherglen. There are queues from junction 4 at Maryville. There are delays of up to an hour and a half to Stena Line sailings between Cairnryan and Belfast because of a technical problem. On the M6 in Lancashire, there's a lane closed northbound for emergency repairs between junctions 28 and 29 towards the M65, causing queues. The M62 on Merseyside is blocked eastbound by an accident between junctions 4 and 5 from the Rocket to Huyton, causing queues. Conway, the A55 North Wales Expressway is partly blocked eastbound by an accident between junctions 23 and 23A from Llanthillas to Abergele, with queues towards and past there. On the M40 in Oxfordshire, the southbound entry slip road's blocked by a breakdown at junction 9 at Bicester, causing delays, and train services are suspended between Exeter Central and both Barnstable and Oakhampton.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
The row over Prince Harry's US visa will be brought back into focus.
Earlier this year, Nigel Farage asked Donald Trump about this very issue. Let's take a listen.
No one knows the truth. What did he put on his American visa form?
If they know something about the drugs and if he lied, they'll have to take appropriate action.
Appropriate action? What could that mean?
Well, the fractured relationship between the president-elect and the royal couple, or ex-royal couple, I should say, began in 2020 when the Sussexes urged American voters to stay clear of Trump, urging them to reject hate speech, misinformation and online negativity.
OK, well, to break down this story for us, we're joined by royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams. Richard, so what are the chances of Trump saying, you know what, Harry, time to get out of here?
I very strongly suspect that the new administration has other priorities, and also it wouldn't want the enormous amount of fuss. Can you just imagine it in hypothetical situations if it happened? I mean, we've seen Nigel Farage there get an answer from Donald Trump, which implied that this might be looked into, and it might.
The Americans say that if you have taken illegal drugs, you're not allowed immigration status. Prince Harry, in his book, said he'd taken illegal drugs, and there he is with American immigration status. I mean, how do the two things make sense? Either he lied in the book, or he lied to the US government.
I can't see that the future administration would want to be involved with problems with the British royal family, which obviously would occur if this happened.
Yeah, that's true. Richard Fitzwilliams, thank you very much, as ever.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning and welcome to Britain's newsroom on GB News with me, Nana Akwe, and also Cameron Walker. It's 9:30, Friday the 22nd of November. This is Britain's newsroom.
The government backs the International Criminal Court's decision to issue an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. But Yvette Cooper has refused to say whether he'd be arrested if he stepped foot in the UK and says it's not a matter for her as Home Secretary.
And then the UK's military equipment is just not good enough. That's according to Defence Secretary. Is this what we want to be hearing when Putin is threatening the UK with ballistic missiles?
And cracking down on antisocial behaviour, the government resurrects ASBO-style respect orders as they try to enhance police powers.
Well, the government is signalling here a return to core policing, but can respect orders work in communities where all respect seems to have been lost?
As the winter weather bites, energy regulator Ofgem announces an increase in the energy price cap, another blow to the cost of living.
The King's coronation cost British taxpayers £72 million. Is showcasing British culture on the global stage worth the money? We'll be asking.
And 1 week out, cost of living is the big issue as Ireland heads to the polls to pick a new government. But could there be a surprise winner? Well, so we're going to have a very busy morning. Obviously, interesting that Yvette Cooper was unable to say whether or not she would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu when he steps into this country, and that it wasn't really kind of a matter for her as Home Secretary.
And I think a little bit backed into the corner because the Irish Prime Minister has come out in the last half an hour or so saying that Ireland would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he stepped foot on Irish soil. So is the British government going